Chapter 437. Bzzz. The sound of Buddha resounded throughout the world, and the rhythm of the Tao pierced through the clouds. Wisps of golden light sprinkled down from the sky. It looked like the Milky Way had descended from the 9 heavens, giving off an indescribably majestic aura. 4,000-meter-tall golden Buddhas descended from the sky. They put their palms together and chanted. Few scriptures jumped out of their mouths and danced around them. The body of the 1,000-meter-tall golden Buddha emitted a dazzling golden light. This divine scene made people feel reverence, and they couldn't even muster the slightest bit of resistance. 4,000-meter-tall golden Buddhas surrounded Sun Hao in a triangular formation. You can't kill him. He's a disciple of Buddhism. He must be handed over to us. Stop right now. The 4 golden Buddhas opened their mouths one after another. Their voices caused the world to tremble and their minds to buzz. Their eyes were fixed on Sun Hao. If something went wrong, they would immediately kill him. Are you talking to me? Sun Hao looked at the 4 golden Buddhas and said faintly. Impudent! There was a loud shout. A golden Buddha stretched out a big hand that covered the sky, aimed at Sun Hao, and pressed down. The terrifying pressure caused the surrounding space to distort. Under the palm, everything was imprisoned. Such a scene made everyone's scalp go numb, and they broke out in a cold sweat. His heart felt like it was going to jump out of his throat. It was very uncomfortable. Sun Hao looked at the big hand that covered the sky, stretched out his claw unhurriedly, and pressed it towards the sky. Buzz, the sky trembled, and a giant transparent hand was formed. In the blink of an eye, it crashed into the giant hand that covered the sky. Boom, the earth cracked and the sky collapsed. A terrifying might howled in all directions. The golden Buddha palm shattered inch by inch, exploding into dust. A miserable shriek resounded through the sky. The arm of the giant Buddha that attacked just now was completely broken and turned into dust. Walla walla. The giant Buddha chanted some strange incantations. Lines of scriptures quickly flew over and enveloped his wounds. His arm was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. After recovering, all 4 giant Buddhas stared at Sun Hao. There was a hint of fear in his eyes. In Ma City, a group of Buddhist cultivators stared blankly at Sun Hao. That kind of reverence and admiration was not concealed at all. The palm strike just now had greatly stimulated their nerve. For a moment they were unable to calm down. Heavenly Law Buddha, you are too powerful. Pu Hui looked at Sun Hao's back with extreme admiration. An indescribable sense of security flooded his entire body. That imposing figure was like a Buddha who controlled everything. Formation. One of the golden Buddhas roared furiously, instantly waking up the other 3 golden Buddhas. They moved quickly, forming hand seals while chanting sutras. Few tens of thousands of scriptures danced in the air and circled around them. The shocking might made one's scalp go numb. Sun Hao looked at them and did not stop them, letting them do it. His calm demeanor made him seem like the ruler of the world. The radiance on the 4 golden Buddhas grew brighter and brighter. The scriptures flew onto their skin and covered their entire bodies. Buzz, on the golden Buddha's body, golden light vibrated and the Buddhist charm rumbled. That kind of indestructible aura covered the 9 heavens. His majesty was unshakable. Arhat golden body. My God, they are the 4 Arhats. What? The 4 Arhats of the Lane Temple had personally arrived? Ancestor. It's terrible, too strong, my 2 legs don't seem to be my own. Ai, that master, it's a disaster. Everyone stared blankly at the 4 great Arhats, and their hearts were lifted, extremely nervous. The 4 great Arhats looked at Sun Hao, and the shocking aura swept down. The Buddha is merciful and does not want to kill. I'll give you one last chance, hand him over, and then abolish your own cultivation, and you can be spared from death. 2 divine voices descended from the sky. Heaven and earth roared, and the sun and moon changed color. It seemed that there was only gold left in the whole world. The roar, mixed with terrifying pressure, rushed straight to Sun Hao. In an instant it enveloped Sun Hao. However, there was no reaction. Sun Hao stood in place, his face unchanged. He looked at the four great arhats and smiled slightly. What if not? Death, Tao vanishes, soul flies and scatters. The earth-shattering roar swept down again. The terrifying power was 10 times stronger again. However, it was still useless. Sun Hao looked at the four great arhats and grinned. He, death, Tao vanishes, soul flies and scatters? 4 great arhats, so what? I just won't hand it over. What can you do to me? The voice was not loud, but it was full of momentum. His voice spread clearly throughout the city and poured into the ears of every Buddhist cultivator. Hearing these voices, some were worried, some were fearful, some were afraid. Everyone's expression was different. When the four great arhats heard this, their faces changed dramatically. That kind of anger, along with the golden light on his body, surged up, turned into golden flames, and went straight to the sky. The entire world seemed as though it was about to melt. Good, very good. Today you must pay for what you have done. Before the words fell, Sun Hao's mind moved, and the transparent palm in front of him clenched quickly. No, you dare! Boom! 3 sounds rang out at the same time. The red-robed man in the transparent palm directly exploded into nothingness and disappeared. All the karma threads disintegrated in an instant. The four great arhats looked at Sun Hao, the corners of their mouths twitched slightly, and they roared angrily as if to break everything. In that case, die. 4 soft shouts sounded at the same time. The four great arhats stretched out their palms, aimed ahead, and pressed over. Thousands of scriptures flew over quickly, shrouding in front of them, forming 4 giant golden hands. Buzz, the air vibrated, and the 4 giant golden hands merged into one, turning into a 10,000-meter-wide giant hand, covering the world. Boom! The 10,000-meter-long giant hand burst out with the momentum of destroying heaven and earth, aiming at Ma City and pressing down. The terrifying pressure continued in all directions, and wherever it went, the space was shattered inch by inch. That kind of momentum of destroying everything, mixed with the shocking power, came quickly and enveloped Sun Hao in an instant. Sun Hao's hair danced wildly and his clothes fluttered. His skin was blown up and down, shaking like waves. It looked like it was going to blow Sun Hao into powder. The four great arhats looked at Sun Hao, and the corners of their mouths raised a cold smile. My Buddha is not something you can resist. Today, I must pull out your soul and give it to the Lord of the Buddhist nation. The four great arhats muttered to themselves, and their complacency became more and more obvious. The next second, the four great arhats widened their eyes, and their pupils contracted sharply. Looking at the scene in front of them, they showed an unbelievable expression. They saw. After the 10,000-meter-long giant palm fell 5 inches above Sun Hao's head, it was difficult to go down. It seemed that it was blocked by a terrifying force. Sun Hao stood there with his head held out a finger, facing the 10,000-meter-long giant palm. All the power was blocked by this finger, and it was difficult to go down at all. Suddenly, Kacha! The sound of an eggshell cracking sounded. Chapter 438. Kacha! A crack appeared on the 10,000-meter-long giant palm. The cracks spread quickly around in a cobweb-like pattern. Boom! There was an explosion. The 10,000-meter-long giant palm quickly exploded, collapsed into a trace of light, and disappeared. Buzz! A force quickly pounced on the four arhats. Like a golden bell, it buzzed. Puff, puff! The four arhats spat out a mouthful of blood. The golden light on their bodies quickly dimmed. They pressed their chests and looked at Sun Hao as if looking at a monster. The expression on their faces was extremely dignified. Quick! Send a message to the Buddha nation, Lord. I have already sent a message. This kid is too powerful. What should we do? We must hold him back until the king arrives. Yes, after a burst of divine sense transmission, the 4 Arhats made a decision. You, who the hell are you? Why did you come here to make trouble? An Arhat pointed to Sun Hao and asked. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth and took a step forward, showing a calm look on his face. It doesn't matter who I am. The important thing is whether you choose to surrender or perish. Sun Hao released his breath, and the shocking momentum enveloped the world. The whole city was dead silent. Everyone looked at Sun Hao blankly, and their astonishment was indescribable. In the face of the 4 Arhats, who else in the world could speak like this? Looking at the entire human world, there were only a few. Unexpectedly, an inconspicuous monk dared to be so arrogant. Wasn't he afraid of the Buddha nation lord? Wasn't he afraid of Buddha? Wasn't he afraid of all the gods and Buddhas? At this moment, everyone's thoughts were in chaos. It was hard to describe their dumbfounded appearance. When the 4 Arhats heard this, their faces changed. The uneasiness flashed away. Then, the corners of their mouths raised, revealing an expression of controlling everything. Fellow Taoist, I think you have some skills. When we go back, I will apply to Buddha to leave you a Buddha position. What do you think? An Arhat looked at Sun Hao and said. The voice was tempting, making people not fall into it when they heard it. When everyone in the city heard this, their eyes were full of light and they were envious. However, Buddha will give me a Buddha position? Does he deserve it? As soon as these words came out, there was dead silence all around. Everyone opened their mouths wide and mumbled for a long time without saying a word. Even the 4 Arhats were shocked at this moment. Those who dared to say such things were basically all dead. This brat dared to disrespect the Buddha, so he had to die. The Tathagata Buddha would definitely have divined all of this. Let's see how arrogant you can be when Buddha descends. The 4 Arhats looked furious as their chests heaved violently. After calming himself down, he continued speaking. Fellow Taoist, Buddha is not an existence that you can imagine. Not to mention the Gautama Buddha, even the king of the Buddhist nation is not someone you can deal with. If you know what's good for you, come back with us and beg for forgiveness from the Buddhist nation's king. You might still have a chance to live. Otherwise, your soul will scatter and your cultivation will vanish into thin air. You better think this through clearly. The 4 Arhats looked at Sun Hao with a smile on their faces. Sun Hao stood in place, the corners of his mouth raised, showing an indifferent expression. He looked as if he had completely ignored them. Damn it! He's ignoring us. Don't be angry. The more he ignores us, the better. That's right. The longer we drag this out, the better it is for us. The 4 Arhats secretly transmitted their voices, their expressions becoming more and more smug. For a long time, Sun Hao opened his mouth and looked at the 4 Arhats with a smile. Why did it take so long? Where is your Buddhist nation's king? As soon as these words came out, boom, like a thunderclap in the minds of the 4 Arhats, their bodies trembled. A wave of uneasiness surged through their hearts. Don't be arrogant, the Buddhist nation's king will arrive soon. If you surrender now, the Buddhist nation's king will be lenient. Otherwise, it will be too late to regret your death. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth and said, with the strength of the Buddhist nation's king, it must be easy to break through the space and come here, right? It's been a quarter of an hour. Do you think he will still come? As soon as these words came out, the faces of the 4 Arhats showed uneasiness. They secretly took out the communication jade slip and looked at it. Their pupils shrank and their faces changed dramatically. Not good, the news has not been sent out. This is the divine level array formation, the heaven-deceiving array. No, this is just an ordinary immortal array superimposed. No, this forcibly draws the power of the surrounding laws. My God, what kind of existence is he? Don't just stand there, let's do it together. The 4 Arhats moved quickly in panic. They sat cross-legged in the sky, and their huge bodies turned in circles in place. They muttered to themselves, "Bala bala hey," scriptures spewed out of their mouths and danced around them. The bodies of the four arhats quickly merged together. A 10,000-meter tall giant Buddha slowly condensed and formed. Behind the giant Buddha, the Buddha's light was tens of thousands of feet, straight into the sky. The Buddha's voice chanted and the world roared. It looked as if the Buddha had descended, carrying with it an unstoppable might. At this moment, everyone was stunned again, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. Many people knelt down and began to kowtow in salute. That kind of pious appearance was indescribable in words. Wisps of the power of faith surged from the kneeling people and flew to the 10,000-meter tall giant Buddha. With the infusion of the power of faith, the 10,000-meter tall giant Buddha's aura became more vigorous. Sun Hao looked at this scene and shook his head secretly. "Weak, too weak. Let me do it. Form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form." A series of scriptures spewed out of Sun Hao's mouth. In the blink of an eye, it was sprinkled all over the world. A huge golden Buddha with a height of 20,000 meters condensed and formed. The profound power whistled the heavens and the earth. Buzz, the huge golden Buddha stretched out his palm and grabbed the ground. The power of faith that flew up from the Buddhist cultivators in the city was grabbed by the huge golden Buddha with one hand, sent into his mouth, and swallowed all of it. Such a scene directly frightened the four arhats, who were merged in the 10,000-meter tall golden Buddha. Snatch the power of faith? How is this possible? Such a strong power of Buddha is not weaker than the Buddha at all. Who is he? We can't even muster the strength to resist. What should we do? The four arhats opened their mouths wide, and their faces were trembling. I know, he is Dipankara Buddha. An arhat pointed at the huge golden Buddha with a trembling face. As soon as these words came out, the other three arhats' faces changed drastically, and their faces were full of horror. What? The Buddha of the past, Dipankara Buddha? Didn't he already pass away? How is this possible? He came back to life again, my God! This is not weaker than the existence of Buddha Tathagata. It's over, it's over. The color of despair was written all over the four arhats. The next second, they sank into hell and fell into endless despair. Group 9477828868, looking forward to your joining. Chapter 439. Dipankara Buddha's eyes swept and stared directly at the 10,000-meter golden Buddha. At this moment, the four arhats who transformed into golden Buddhas sank into hell, and their power seemed to be drained. They were sweating profusely and weak. Presumptuous! Dipankara Buddha let out a light shout, shaking the world. The 10,000-meter golden Buddha cracked inch by inch like it was made of broken ice. The four arhats stood in place and vomited blood. They looked at Dipankara Buddha with fear on their faces. Greetings, Dipankara Buddha. The four arhats knelt down and kowtowed to Dipankara Buddha. Dipankara Buddha looked at the four arhats with an expressionless face. A cold snort blasted the ears of the four arhats, and their faces changed drastically. Dipankara Buddha, spare us! Buddha, we are the disciples of Buddha Lord Tathagata. Please give face to Buddha Lord Tathagata and spare our lives. Dipankara Buddha, we were wrong. Please spare our lives. The four arhats kept kowtowing, their bodies trembling. Buddha's face? Is he worthy? Dipankara Buddha said. Boom, like a thunderbolt from the ninth heaven, the four arhats trembled, and panic was written all over their faces. Dipankara, you dare to insult Buddha like this, I will fight you to the death. A dazzling golden light appeared on an arhat's body and went straight to Dipankara Buddha. Just you, are you worthy? The words were spoken. The arhat who rushed over was wrapped in a force, and his body turned into flying ash, slowly drifting away, and finally disappeared. During the whole process, Dipankara Buddha stood in place and did not move. Such a scene scared the other three arhats. They crawled in front of Dipankara Buddha and kept kowtowing. Buddha, please spare us. Buddha, please give us a way out. Buddha, I am willing to be your disciple, please spare me. The three arhats buried their heads in front of their knees and kept begging for mercy. Humph, you dare to attack my master and still dare to beg for mercy. As soon as these words came out, silence. It was very quiet. Deathly silence. Everyone in Ma City stayed in place, looking up at the sky, revealing an extremely surprised expression. The three arhats opened their mouths wide and mumbled for a long time without saying anything. That kind of shock and stupefaction was indescribable. The master of Buddha Dapeng? Oh my God! Since when did Buddha have a master? Could it be that Dipankara Buddha's master is that little monk? It must be fake, right? Dream, it must be a dream. Buddha Dipankara's words shattered everyone's worldview. All along, they had thought that the Buddha was a supreme existence. Now, it seemed that this was not the case at all. Unexpectedly, the Buddha had a master as well. Heavenly Law Buddha is Dipankara Buddha's master? Pu Hui stared blankly at this scene, unable to react for a long time. What the F***ck? Mr. is the master of Randang? 6 Ears Macaque scratched his head in shock. Young master, what kind of existence are you? Thunder Tribulation Lord looked at Sun Hao with an excited face. At this moment, Sun Hao became the focus of everyone, and everyone's eyes were fixed on him. Surprise, shock, disbelief, mystery, all kinds of expressions kept changing on everyone's faces. Die! A deafening roar awakened the three arhats. They looked at the giant finger of Buddha Dipankara, and their faces were pale with fright, and their bodies trembled violently. Buddha! Buddha, spare my life! Spare my life! Boom! The bodies of the three arhats burst apart and exploded into powder. When the wind blew, there was nothing left. Dead? You killed 3 arhats with just 1 finger? Buddha is Buddha, this is too powerful. Buddha is so terrifying, how strong will the master of Buddha be? Absolutely unimaginable. Exclamations continued. It was not only the crowd that was surprised. At this moment, Sun Hao was also stunned in place. Dipankara Buddha called himself master? Fake, right? The Buddha formed by his chanting turned out to be Dipankara Buddha? Unexpectedly, the one who followed him turned out to be Buddha Tathagata, who was on the same level as Tathagata. In this way, when he ran amok in the 3 realms, no one dared to attack him? So I am already invincible? Sun Hao muttered to himself, showing a look of surprise. He glanced at Dipankara Buddha and nodded with a smile. Only to see. Dipankara Buddha glanced around, and after confirming that there was nothing, he turned to look at Sun Hao and bowed. When he was about to leave. Wait. Sun Hao stopped Dipankara Buddha. Master, what can I do for you? Dipankara Buddha waved his right hand, and a barrier covered the two of them. No one could hear what they said. Your name is Dipankara? Sun Hao asked. Yes, master. Dipankara Buddha nodded. Have you been following me? Sun Hao continued to ask. Yes, master. Dipankara Buddha said. Are you really the Buddha who is on the same level as Buddha? Sun Hao asked. That was before. Dipankara Buddha's gaze swept into the distance as if returning to countless years ago. At that time, I, Tathagata, and Maitreya were the 3 great Buddhas of Buddhism. We founded Buddhism, Dipankara Buddha said one sentence at a time. Sun Hao listened carefully and did not interrupt. Later, Tathagata was extremely ambitious and wanted to rule the 3 realms, so he secretly harmed me and Maitreya. As a result, my and Maitreya's physical bodies were destroyed, and all my cultivation was devoured by Tathagata. All I have left is this remnant soul. If it weren't for the Master taking me in, I'm afraid my soul would have been scattered long ago. After following the Master for so long, my soul has recovered, and my strength is also recovering rapidly. All of this is thanks to the Master. After speaking, Dipankara Buddha bowed deeply to Sun Hao. "Get up, no need to be polite." Sun Hao said, "Master, I survived, but Maitreya's soul was scattered. When I recover, I will definitely teach Tathagata a lesson." Dipankara Buddha clenched his fists, and a flash of anger flashed. "Compared with Tathagata now, who is stronger and who is weaker?" Sun Hao asked. "Incomparable. Tathagata devoured the power of both of us, plus he has monopolized the Buddhist kingdom over the years. He must have broken through to the Saint Realm," Dipankara Buddha said. "Saint Realm?" Sun Hao was puzzled. "Master, above the God Emperor is the Saint Realm. Reaching that realm is truly beyond the three realms and can see many different things," Dipankara Buddha said. Hearing this, Sun Hao took a breath of cold air, and his face was full of surprise. Unexpectedly, there was still a realm above the God Emperor. "I'm afraid the road of cultivation will never end. He must move forward step by step and reach the peak in order to protect everything. For now, it was most important to obtain the cultivation method." "Do you have a God-level cultivation method on you?" Sun Hao asked. "Master, yes." After speaking, Tathagata Buddha waved his right hand, and 2 nerve cultivation methods flew to Sun Hao. Dipankara Ancient Scripture, Menstruation. Sun Hao opened the Dipankara Ancient Scripture and began to check it. The words on it, as if alive, flew quickly into Sun Hao's eyebrows and engraved in his mind. His mind began to deduce automatically. Sun Hao closed his eyes and felt all this quietly. Dipankara Buddha stared at Sun Hao blankly, his face full of doubts. The next second, Dipankara Buddha's face changed dramatically, showing incredible surprise. Chapter 440. The space trembled. An ancient bronze lamp floated in front of Sun Hao, and the pale yellow light illuminated all directions. This pale yellow light seemed to have a special power that could annihilate the darkness in people's hearts and erase the unhappiness in people's hearts. Anyone who was illuminated by the ancient lamp, at this moment, their hearts were bright, and the whole person was extremely comfortable and peaceful. Dipankara Buddha stared blankly at this scene and didn't react for a long time. The Dipankara Ancient Sutra that he created was learned in a breath in the hands of his master. Moreover, compared with the one he used, this ancient bronze lamp was like heaven and earth. There was no comparison at all. "Master, you are so amazing!" Dipankara Buddha looked at Sun Hao with awe. In the next second, Dipankara Buddha was even more frightened, and his heart was hit by the waves and couldn't calm down for a long time. He saw. A sound rang out. In front of Sun Hao, ancient bronze lamps floated around him. As time passed, there were more and more ancient bronze lamps. Finally, after reaching 9,999 lamps, it stopped. Nearly 10,000 ancient bronze lamps illuminated all directions, dispersing the darkness hidden in everyone's hearts. Everyone's state of mind improved rapidly at this moment. Dipankara Buddha opened his mouth wide and didn't say a complete sentence for a long time. He looked at Sun Hao as if he was looking at the Creator. That kind of worship and awe was written all over his face. Sun Hao opened his eyes and sighed secretly. Although this Dipankara Ancient Sutra was powerful, it was not suitable for him. Although he had learned it, he still couldn't use it for cultivation. Remember this incantation well. After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed at Dipankara Buddha with his right hand. A huge amount of information rushed in and quickly drilled into the brow of the burning Buddha. Sensing the information in his mind, Dipankara Buddha was extremely excited. "Wonderful, just one sentence, but it wrapped my hundreds of chants, and it is easier to understand, and the power used is 100 times stronger. Master, the cultivation method you modified is simply perfect and impeccable. If I cultivate it to great success, I can not only restore my strength, but I'm afraid Tathagata will definitely not be my opponent." Dipankara Buddha muttered to himself, his face full of joy. He looked at Sun Hao, and his face was full of gratitude. Then, Dipankara Buddha closed his eyes and began to cultivate the improved version of the Dipankara Ancient Sutra. Let's try this book. Sun Hao took menstruation and began to open it. The handwriting on it, as if jumping out, quickly flew to Sun Hao's eyebrows. His mind worked quickly as he tried to edit the book Menstruation of the Year. After a while, Sun Hao opened his eyes, and his face showed a touch of joy. With a thought, he instantly disappeared from where he was. No, it could be said that he disappeared from the current spacetime and returned to the past. Voices rang in his ears. Everything around Ma City was like a movie being played in reverse. He retracted his thoughts. Time stopped rewinding. Sun Hao was surprised to find that he had returned to half a day ago. He stood in the city, looking at everything around him like an outsider. No one could discover him. I wonder if I can change the past? Sun Hao muttered to himself, and with a move of his mind, time quickly went back again. Soon, he returned to the moment when he was about to kill Wu Ji. He looked at his other self with a solemn expression. He saw that his other self was smiling. With a move of his mind, the transparent palm in front of him clenched quickly. No, how dare you! Boom. 3 sounds rang at the same time. The moment when Wu Ji was about to be blasted into light and shadow by the transparent big hand. Sun Hao's mind moved, and a body quickly condensed and formed. Then, with another move of his mind, that figure and Wu Ji's body were swapped. Boom, the huge palm blasted the figure into light and shadow. Ah, no, Wu Ji kept screaming, but no one could hear him. He covered his face blankly, with a look of disbelief. I'm not dead. You didn't kill me? Wu Ji looked at Sun Hao, full of doubts. Sun Hao smiled slightly and pointed to his other self. Look. Looking along Sun Hao's finger, Wu Ji's pupils contracted, and his face changed dramatically. He looked at Sun Hao, and then at Sun Hao not far away, full of doubts. You went back to the past? Wu Ji muttered to himself. Sun Hao smiled slightly. Do you want to live? Yes. Wu Ji kept nodding. Then tell me, why did the 4 great arhats risk their lives to take you back? Sun Hao asked. Great Buddha, they want to take me away. In fact, there are only 2 reasons. First, kill people to silence them. Second, the power of faith of Ma City is now under my control. It is still in my hands. After speaking, Wu Ji took out a bag and handed it to Sun Hao. Power of faith? Sun Hao opened the lid and saw hundreds of white stones the size of fingernails. The light on it flowed with a special power. This must be the condensation of the power of faith. As soon as the stone touched his hand, it all turned into a wisp of white light that was invisible to the naked eye and poured into his body. Sun Hao closed his eyes and quietly absorbed the white light. For a long time. He opened his eyes, and a touch of joy appeared on his face. Although I don't feel much, I feel that my strength has increased by at least 10%. It seems that this power of faith can enhance my own strength. Sun Hao muttered to himself, and his face showed a touch of light. This Buddha's kingdom is a good place to collect the power of faith. Sun Hao thought. Absorbed all of it? My God! Wu Ji looked at Sun Hao, stunned in place, and did not react for a long time. A piece of faith stone was enough for him to absorb for 100 years. Even the 4 great Vajra needed 10 years to absorb one piece. Buddha also needed a year, even Bodhisattva it would take a month. Apart from the Gautama Buddha, who else could absorb hundreds of faith stones at the same time? Could he be Buddha? Thinking like this, Wu Ji raised his eyebrows and hurriedly knelt down. He crawled in front of Sun Hao, shivering. So, you are just their slave? Sun Hao asked. Wu Ji's face was bitter. Great Buddha, no, Buddha, I am not a slave, I am Buddha's messenger, you can rest assured, I will listen to you and do everything well. This seat is not Buddha, what are you afraid of? Sun Hao said. You aren't Buddha Tathagata? Wu Ji secretly wiped his cold sweat, showing the joy of surviving a disaster. Buddha, you don't know, how can we compare to slaves? We are worse than pigs and dogs. For tens of thousands of years I have been trapped here, and if I am not careful, my soul will fly away and my body will disappear. You don't know how evil Buddha is, treating all living beings as ants. Chapter 441. You stay here for the time being. When I return to the human world, I will let you out. Sun Hao threw Wuji into the soul space. With a wave of his right hand, a restriction enveloped a radius of 100 miles. Within this restriction, Wuji could only stay here and could not leave. Thank you, Buddha! Wuji's eyes were full of gratitude. Facing Sun Hao, he knelt 3 times and kowtowed 9 times. Although it was very boring to stay in this cold and empty space, but it was already a great fortune to be able to survive. Wuji looked around with a face full of doubts. Isn't this space too big? If there are stars, this is completely a cosmic starry sky. Where is this? Could it be the soul space? Thinking of this, Wuji's pupils shrank, and his face changed dramatically. Such a boundless soul space, looking at the entire 3 realms, I am afraid no one can have it. Wuji's thoughts moved and sank into his soul space. Looking at his hundreds of cubic meters of soul space, Wuji's face was full of bitterness. A sense of disparity between a grain of sand and a superstar surged all over his body. This Buddha turned out to be such an existence. Buddha, from today on, you are my master. As long as you ask, I, Wuji, will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. Wuji muttered to himself with a firm face. Seeing the change in Wuji's expression, Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and his thoughts moved, instantly disappearing in place. When he appeared again, he returned to the present. At this moment, Dipankara Buddha was cultivating with a cautious look. Sun Hao looked at him, and the corner of his mouth raised a faint smile. Who? He stretched out his finger and pointed at Dipankara Buddha's eyebrows. A 7-colored divine essence quickly submerged into Dipankara Buddha's body, covering his whole body. The corner of Dipankara Buddha's mouth raised, revealing a smile. The color of comfort was written all over his face. After a while, buzz, there was a vibration. In front of Dipankara Buddha, an ancient bronze lamp condensed and formed. A pale yellow flame slowly rose, illuminating the entire world. Soon after, buzz, there was another vibration, and an ancient bronze lamp condensed and formed. Less than a moment, 108 ancient bronze lamps floated around Dipankara Buddha. The shocking power shrouded the world. Dipankara Buddha opened his eyes, and his face showed uncontrollable surprise. He looked at Sun Hao with gratitude and admiration written all over his face. Thank you, Buddha, Dipankara said. No need to be so polite. Sun Hao smiled and nodded. Buzz, with a finger of his right hand, the chant of chronological period, flew out of Sun Hao's fingertips and poured into the space between Buddha Ronding's eyebrows. Dipankara Buddha once again stood rooted to the ground, his face filled with disbelief and surprise. Master, this, Randang was extremely excited. He did not look like Buddha at all. All right, you can practice this later. I ask you, do you know where the transmission channel to the Heavenly Dipper Galaxy is? Sun Hao asked. Master, Rulai must have changed the teleportation channel in Rulai's Buddhist kingdom. However, within the Thunder Temple, there are passageways that lead to all places. Buddha Dipankara said. Thunder Sound Temple? Sun Hao asked. Master, the Thunder Monastery is at the end of the Buddhist road. The monarch should be there. With your strength, the leader of the Buddhist nation poses no threat to you, but... Buddha Dipankara hesitated. But what? Sun Hao asked. However, I am afraid that Rulai will send people to the lower realm. In that case, it will be troublesome. Buddha Dipankara said. Send people to the lower realm? Will Rulai go to the lower realm personally? Sun Hao asked. Rulai can't go to the lower realm personally. This world can no longer withstand his pressure and will collapse. At most, he will only send down an illusory clone, Buddha Dipankara said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. It seems that this Buddhist road must be explored by himself. Okay, then you can step back, Sun Hao said. Yes, master. Buddha Dipankara looked around, and then the corner of his mouth raised. His body collapsed, turned into wisps of light, and disappeared. Sun Hao slowly floated down, stood for a long time, and glanced at everyone. Greetings, Buddha! The neat roar shook heaven and earth. On everyone's face there was a pious expression. Wisps of faith power went straight up and flew into Sun Hao's eyebrows. Sun Hao closed his eyes and quietly felt the power of faith. He was secretly shocked. He could clearly sense that his strength was growing over time. If this goes on, in less than a year, his strength will inevitably double. If the entire Buddhist kingdom of Rulai believed in himself, to what extent could his strength grow? It was simply unimaginable. Since you all worship me, you are my disciples, and you will be protected by this seat. This seat's Dharma name is Dharma Heaven. You all sit cross-legged. Sun Hao's voice, like thunder from the ninth heaven, shook heaven and earth. Everyone sat cross-legged on the ground, looking at Sun Hao with an excited face. Pervert, emptiness is not different from color. Sun Hao sat in the sky and opened his mouth to recite scriptures. Hundreds of millions of scriptures, like butterflies flying all over the sky, enveloped the entire world. These scriptures began to circle around everyone. I actually condensed a Buddha seal? Buddha's means are unimaginable. My golden body is complete? Many people clenched their fists, and their bodies trembled with excitement. Such a voice kept stimulating the nerves of others. They also sat down quietly and began to absorb the power of Buddha. Buddha seals and golden bodies quickly condensed on their bodies. Everyone's strength was rising rapidly. At the same time, their power of faith rose. At this moment, Sun Hao was like the Lord God in their minds, filling their whole hearts. As their strength rose, the power of faith also became stronger. For a long time, Sun Hao stopped chanting. They looked at the scriptures all over the city and nodded secretly. After waiting for a long time, everyone recovered in turn. Haha, I actually condensed 1024 Buddha seals. Who else? Thunder Tribulation Lord shouted excitedly. Damn fatty, I condensed 4900 and didn't say anything. What are you proud of? Six-eared Macaque said. You are bragging, cows are flying in the sky. As soon as Thunder Tribulation Lord finished speaking, he was stunned again. He looked at the Buddha seals around Six-eared Macaque, opened his mouth wide, and murmured for a long time without saying a word. You cheated. Cheated? Then you take one move from me. Six-eared Macaque said. Don't, I admit defeat. Thunder Tribulation Lord looked fearful and took 2 steps back. Pooh-wee flew up and bowed deeply to Sun Hao. Thank you, Heavenly Buddha. Pooh-wee saluted. No need. Sun Hao looked at Pooh-wee and nodded slightly. Your perception is good. This city will be handed over to you. I don't know what you think. What? Pooh-wee was shocked, and her face showed incredible surprise. Why don't you want to? Sun Hao asked. No, Lord Buddha. How could I possibly work for Lord Buddha? Buddha, don't worry, I will take care of everything. Pooh-wee knelt in front of Sun Hao and bowed deeply. You don't have to go on the Buddhist path. You do a good job. This seat will leave you a seat. Sun Hao said. Thank you, Buddha. Pooh-wee's body trembled slightly with excitement, and she didn't calm down for a long time. Chapter 442. Tathagata Buddhist Land. A boundless black mountain range. Above the mountain range, black clouds shot into the sky. On the east side of the black mountain range, it was as if an axe had cleaved down. At the bottom of the cliff, there was a small path that could fit 2 people. It was like a cave that led to the inside of the mountain range. At a glance, it was pitch black, and one could not see the end at all. In the small path, black silk surged like a monster baring its fangs and claws, making one's scalp go numb. This inconspicuous small path was the Buddhist road. However, at this moment, no one dared to barge in on the Buddhist road. On the west side of the Buddhist road was a basin. The basin was so big that it was boundless. In the basin, there was a huge city in the shape of a circle. It was called the Buddhist city. In the Buddhist city, there was an endless stream of people. The sound of hawkers, yelling, shouting, the sound was endless. It looked like an incomparably prosperous super city. On this day, stop! A loud shout drowned out all the other sounds. Looking over, everyone had a puzzled look. A man was seen running away at high speed. The man's body was covered with a few bloodstains that had dyed his clothes thoroughly. This man was none other than the Evil Suppression Alliance hunting team leader, Wu Han. Behind Wu Han, dozens of men quickly caught up. Each of them was ferocious, as if they wanted to eat Wu Han up. Stop, if you run again, I'll skin you alive today. A man roared from behind. However, not only did Wu Han not stop, he even sped up and soon disappeared in front of them. Dozens of men also quickly chased and soon disappeared. Everyone looked at this scene in a daze, puzzled. Who are they? Why are they chasing that person? I sensed their aura just now. That group of people are not human. What? Not human? Which race are they? Dragon race. The moment this was said, there was dead silence. Everyone's face was filled with fear. The dragon race actually came to the Buddhist land? The dragon race is chasing after the human race. What's the reason? It's definitely not a good thing. We'd better mind our own business and not get ourselves into trouble. Nothing will happen if we go take a look. Let's go, let's go. Soon, quite a few people followed him. Soon after, on a square, Wu Han stood on the spot, looking around warily. They saw. Hundreds of men surrounded him from all directions. Buzz, in the sky, several Dharma treasures blocked the air, preventing Wu Han from escaping. They formed a triangle and slowly surrounded him. Every step they took was firm and steady, not daring to be the slightest bit careless. Brat, you dare to eat my clan? Today you will die for sure. A man pointed at Wu Han and said. As soon as these words came out, like a bolt of lightning, everyone was dumbfounded. Their jaws seemed to be on the verge of dropping. What? Eat my people? Doesn't that mean that person ate a dragon? Did I hear wrongly? That seems to be the case. Holy shit, he actually dared to eat the dragon race. Who else in this world would dare to do that? Hiss, the sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air rose and fell. Many people secretly wiped the cold sweat off their forehead. They looked at Wu Han with admiration and worry. Alas, this kid actually dared to eat a dragon. Now, no one can save him. It's over, we're dead. No matter what, his courage alone is worthy of my admiration. Keep your voice down. If they hear you, you'll die. What are you afraid of? This is not the human world, this is the Buddha kingdom. The sound of discussion continued, and the entire scene was like a pot of boiling porridge. Not far away, a group of Buddhist guards looked at these dragons and turned around one after another, as if they did not see them. In their eyes there was deep fear. If you're not afraid of death, just come. Wu Han released his breath, and rays of golden light surged on his body. A Buddha seal enveloped his body, protecting his whole body. Looking at the Buddha seal on Wu Han's body, the group of men surrounding him all had a look of fear. Go, a sound rang out. 10 people rushed forward together. In the process of rushing over, each of them used their own unique skills, joined forces, and went straight to Wu Han. Just in time. Wu Han snorted coldly, raised his fist, aimed at the 10 men who rushed forward, and blasted over. Boom, the earth shook and the mountains shook. The 10 men flew out like broken kites and fell heavily to the ground. Puff! Wu Han spat out a mouthful of blood because of the recoil force. He stood in place, looking at the hundreds of men around him, the corners of his mouth raised, revealing a scarlet smile. A group of worms, come on. Wu Han glared at them, his aura was shocking. He took a step out and the air waves shook. Buzz, the people around him took a step back one after another, revealing a trace of fear. Little worms, bullying thousands of races, only you can eat other races, and not other races can eat you? How can there be such a good thing? The weak are prey to the strong, it has never changed. Wu Han's voice was like thunder, blasting in everyone's mind for a long time. What are you afraid of? He is already an arrow at the end of its flight, there is nothing to be afraid of. Kill! A group of men moved together and went straight to Wu Han. The terrifying might made people's scalp tingle, and cold sweat flowed. Wu Han looked at this scene. Plop! His knees fell uncontrollably, and his whole body was sweating profusely. It seemed that he was extremely weak. He looked up at the sky, and his thoughts returned to Purple Sun Star. 2 lines of tears slowly fell down. Young master, I am incompetent and failed to help you get the cultivation method. I am really ashamed. If there is a next life, I hope to continue to be your chess piece. After saying that, Wu Han closed his eyes. Don't kill him, restrain him, pull out his tendons and skin him on the spot. Go! A group of people, like wolves and tigers, went straight to Wu Han, seeing that they were about to pounce on Wu Han. At this time, stop! An earth-shattering roar sounded. A wave of air was born out of thin air. With Wu Han as the center, it swept in all directions. Boom! The people who pounced on Wu Han, their bodies flew out like a kite with a broken string. They fell to the ground and they were dizzy. Such a scene directly stunned everyone in place. They looked at this scene in a daze, and their faces were full of disbelief. What's going on? Such a terrifying power, this strength, at least an 8th-grade demigod. That kid actually has this kind of strength. Doubt was written on everyone's face. Suddenly, an icy cold intent shrouded from the sky, sweeping the entire city. At this moment, everyone seemed to be in the cold winter, and their whole bodies trembled uncontrollably. Look! An exclamation sounded. Following this voice, everyone looked up at the sky, and their pupils couldn't help but shrink, and their faces were full of surprise. They saw a woman in a light blue gauze floating in the sky. Her skin was like cream, and it was overflowing with luster. That kind of high and mighty feeling, with an aura that made people unable to approach. She looked like a goddess from heaven, so beautiful that it was suffocating. This person was none other than Mu Bing. She stared at Wu Han, and her aura was released, and the pressure was monstrous. My people are also someone that you few reptiles can touch? Chapter 443. Mu Bing stood in the sky, stretched out her finger, and pointed downwards. Gotcha! The sound of eggshells cracking rang out. Several treasures blocking the sky cracked one by one. Puff! The hundreds of dragons below all spurted blood from their mouths, their faces full of fear. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on Mu Bing. Boss! Wu Han looked at Mu Bing, his body trembling with excitement. I didn't expect you to still be alive, boss. You are arrogant and despotic. Do you have any last words? Mu Bing looked at the crowd of dragons and said indifferently. Her voice echoed between heaven and earth, clearly entering everyone's ears. Listening to her words, she wants to destroy these dragons? No way? The dragon race is the ruler of the world after all. If she does this, she will definitely die. Does she really dare to destroy these dragons? I don't believe it. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Mu Bing. The people of the dragon race also looked at Mu Bing at this moment, revealing a look of disbelief. Little ant, how dare you be arrogant and despotic in front of my clan? Today, you must hand over your life here. Ant, you really don't know how to write the word death. The group of dragons pointed at Mu Bing and scolded her. Hee hee. Mu Bing smiled coldly, stretched out her finger unhurriedly, pointed at the group of dragons and pointed over. Buzz, the sky trembled, and the sun and moon changed color. Howl, an earth-shattering roar resounded throughout the world. Wisps of icy cold air flew out of Mu Bing's fingertips, forming hundreds of ice dragons, and pounced straight at the group of dragons. The icy cold pressure, like the Milky Way pouring down, enveloped the world. At this moment, the group of dragons sank into hell, their bodies sweating profusely. Fine beads of sweat overflowed from their foreheads, and their faces were trembling. Quickly transform into your original body. A roar jolted all the dragons awake. They moved quickly. However, even after exhausting all their methods, they could not transform into their original bodies. Their strength, as if it was imprisoned, could not move at all. Their voices trembled as they stared blankly at the hundreds of ice dragons in the sky, revealing a look of despair. Seeing that these ice dragons were about to pounce on them. At this time, boom, boom, a series of explosions rang out. The ice dragons that were half an inch above their heads all shattered into pieces, turning into wisps of cool air that fell on their heads. A wave of coldness scared these dragon clansmen until they shivered. Such a scene stunned everyone in the Buddha city. They turned their heads and looked around, their faces full of doubt. What's going on? Why did they all collapse? What the hell happened? Suddenly, daring to eat my clan, daring to exterminate my clan, you're quite capable. A female voice rang out. His voice wasn't loud, but it was overbearing. Everyone raised their heads to look, and their pupils constricted as their expressions changed drastically. Who is she? What a terrifying pressure! Peak demigod realm. The pressure of the dragon bloodline is too terrifying. She is the dragon clan's genius, Long Yuejiao. I didn't expect her to come. My god, she's Long Yuejiao, ranked 99th on the heaven list? What? A genius on the heaven list actually came to Rulai Buddhist kingdom? Cries of astonishment could be heard continuously. The entire place was in an uproar. More people had puzzled looks on their faces. What's the heaven list? What? You haven't even heard of the heaven list? You're too backward. That's right, the heaven list records the 100 strongest geniuses in the human world who are under 10,000 years old. In that case, this Long Yuejiao isn't even 10,000 years old yet. Of course, it's said that she's only 5,000 years old now. In a few thousand years, her ranking will definitely reach the top 10. I didn't expect that I would be so lucky to see such a genius. Everyone looked at Long Yuejiao, their eyes full of admiration. Hearing this, Long Yuejiao's expression didn't change at all. She looked at the blue dress on her body, and then looked at the light blue dress on Mu Bing's body. A hint of displeasure flashed across her eyes. They were wearing the same clothes. Mu Bing was also looking at Long Yuejiao with a hint of fear on her face. There's the aura of my clan on your body, and there's a lot of it. It seems that you've eaten a lot of my clan. Tell me, how do you want to die? Long Yuejiao looked at Mu Bing and said faintly. Her voice wasn't loud and very calm. However, it was overbearing and unquestionable. Hee, Mu Bing smiled coldly, stretched out her palm and pressed forward. Buzz, heaven and earth trembled, whistling incessantly. The terrifying power seemed to be able to tear the sky and split the earth. In Mu Bing's palm, a blue dragon quickly drilled out and pounced toward Long Yuejiao. Overestimating yourself. Long Yuejiao coldly snorted and also stretched out her right hand. Huff! A golden dragon flew out from her right hand, aimed at the blue dragon, and bit it. Boom! The sound of explosions kept ringing. The blue dragon directly exploded into powder. The terrifying power didn't diminish in the slightest, and it blasted toward Mu Bing. Seeing this scene, Mu Bing's face changed dramatically, and without thinking, she quickly retreated. However, it was too late. Boom! The terrifying power blasted Mu Bing's body. Mu Bing's body kept spinning in the air, and it took a long time to stop. She stood in place, looking at Long Yuejiao, revealing a look of fear. Can't withstand a single blow. Long Yuejiao coldly smiled, contempt written all over her face. Kneel down and apologize to this seat, and this seat can consider giving you a quick death. Hee. Mu Bing smiled slightly. Do you think I'm just one person? The words just fell. Buzz, several roars rang out. A figure stood in the sky, appearing around Long Yuejiao. I haven't eaten for a long time, and I finally have dragon meat to eat. Su Yiling touched her shriveled belly, looking at Long Yuejiao with a greedy look. Humph, a little reptile dares to be so arrogant. Xian Yuan sure held a long sword with an outstanding temperament. She looked at Long Yuejiao, and only cold killing intent burst out of her eyes. A little reptile, the three of them are enough, let's just watch the show. Zhongli Lang stood in the sky with his arms crossed, revealing a calm expression. Dozens of other people also stood beside Zhongli Lang, looking like they were watching a show. Such a scene strongly stimulated the eyes of everyone below. My God, so many high-grade demigods? When was it so easy to become a demigod? The lowest is a 7th-grade demigod, and there are even 9th-grade demigods. This time, who will be the winner? In the Buddha city, everyone stared blankly at this scene, motionless. Long Yuejiao looked at Mu Bing and the other two, a touch of fear flashed. Buzz, she reacted extremely quickly and forcefully supported herself. Boom, the clothes on her body shattered into pieces. Before waiting for people to react, she turned into a 100,000 meters long golden dragon. The earth-shattering might could tear heaven and earth. Phew! The golden light was like a waterfall rushing down, enveloping the entire world. Such a scene made everyone's scalp tingle, and cold sweat flowed. My God, a great success golden body, too terrifying! This golden body coupled with the dragon race's flesh, no one can move it at all. This time, when the three of them attack her, it's just scratching an itch, right? The next second, everyone's face changed dramatically, full of disbelief. Chapter 444. Roar! With a roar, the earth shook and the mountains shook. A Taotai emerged from behind Su Yiling. The appearance of swallowing the sky and swallowing the earth made everyone dumbfounded and sweating profusely. Everyone murmured for a long time, without saying a word, not waiting for them to react. Buzz, heaven and earth trembled. A 100,000-meter-long giant sword floated in the sky. That kind of momentum that tore everything roared. Chirp! Immediately afterward, another roar sounded. A huge ice phoenix emerged in the sky. The icy aura sprinkled all over the world, as if to freeze the world. A sword, a Taotai, and an ice phoenix were like three giant beasts, in a triangular position, surrounding the golden dragon. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's eyeballs. For a while, they couldn't calm down. Howl! A dragon roar shook the sky. The golden dragon took the lead and pounced on the ice phoenix. The ice phoenix opened its mouth and spat out infinite icy air, enveloping the golden dragon in an instant. The speed of its rush slowed down by 50% in an instant. Boom! Boom! The golden dragon struggled frantically. Every time it vibrated, it made the world tremble and the space shattered. It kept switching between the state of repair and fragmentation. Buzz, the air trembled. The giant sword aimed at the golden dragon and slashed down. Boom, the world trembled. The golden dragon's whole body made a loud noise, and the scales on its body cracked inch by inch. Howl! A deafening wail rang out. The golden dragon turned around and bit at the giant sword. However, what waited for her was the bloody mouth of Taotai. Wow! With a bite, flesh and blood flew everywhere. A dragon's claw was bitten off. The golden dragon kept twisting in the sky and changed into a human form. Blood covered the whole body like a bloody man, extremely miserable. A golden line flew out of the wound and enveloped Long Yuejiao. Soon, the arm that was swallowed by Taotai grew out quickly, and the skin on her body recovered quickly. In less than a moment, it was restored to its original state. However, these that had just been restored did not have the previous strength at all. She stood in midair, looking at the three giant beasts, and her expression changed. Am I going to die here today? Are we going to be eaten by those ants? No, no. Our dragon clan is invincible. Do they have the qualifications? Unwillingness was written all over his face. Any last words? Mu Bing looked at Long Yuejiao and said indifferently, Miss Mu Bing, don't waste your breath on her. Such a big dragon is enough for me to eat for a few days. Su Yiling touched her belly, and her eyes were full of light. Kill her. Xianyuan Shi took a step forward, enveloped by sword intent. At this moment, Long Yuejiao's body sank into hell, unable to move at all. Her face was filled with despair. She opened her mouth, unable to speak. Finally, he closed his eyes and quietly waited for death. Goodbye, father. Long Yuejiao muttered to herself. She closed her eyes and remained motionless. Kill! With a soft shout, Xianyuan Shi's thoughts moved. The huge sword that covered the sky rapidly shrank, turning into a normal-sized sword. Then, it rapidly slashed at Long Yuejiao. It looked like it was about to slash Long Yuejiao. At this moment, presumptuous! A light shout shook heaven and earth. Boom! The long sword that Xianyuan Shi used shattered into powder inch by inch. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out of Xianyuan Shi's mouth. Her body flew out upside down and fell directly to the ground, exploding into dust. Such a scene frightened everyone to the point of stupefaction. Everyone stared blankly at the sky, revealing a puzzled look. Who? A figure walked out of the ripples. He was a man with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, very handsome. The demigod peak aura surged up from the man's body, enveloping heaven and earth. At this moment, everyone in the Buddha city felt as if they had fallen into hell, and their bodies trembled violently. Their eyes were full of fear. Who is he? This pressure is too terrifying. There is the aura of the dragon race. I know, he is Dragon Fang. Dragon Fang? He is Dragon Fang, ranked 9th on the heaven list? It is said that Dragon Fang has killed a middle god, is this true? Yes, 5,000 years ago, a wounded middle god was killed by him. 5,000 years ago, he could kill a middle god. Wouldn't it be even more terrifying now? Everyone looked at Dragon Fang in a daze, shock and surprise written all over their faces. He is Dragon Fang? That's impossible. Dragon Fang has never heard of practicing Buddhism? Why is he here? Then there is only one reason. He came for Long Yuejiao. It seems that he likes Long Yuejiao. The exclamations sounded constantly, and the entire scene exploded. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Dragon Fang. For these, Dragon Fang did not take it to heart. He just shouted softly. Get lost! This sound, with terrifying power, whistled directly on Mu Bing and Su Yiling. The two of their bodies flew out uncontrollably. Boom! Boom! They landed on the ground and exploded into a cloud of dust. There was no power to fight at all. This appearance was like a chicken fighting an eagle. There was no power to struggle at all. Yuejiao, are you okay? Dragon Fang looked at Long Yuejiao with a look of infatuation. Dragon Fang, don't worry about my business. Long Yuejiao roared, shaking Dragon Fang's body. Yuejiao, you are going to die, how can I not care? Dragon Fang said. Whether I die or not has nothing to do with you. Long Yuejiao roared. Yuejiao, why bother? Dragon Fang said. Why bother? Haha. Long Yuejiao looked up to the sky and laughed. Dragon Fang, don't think I don't know what you are planning? You want to get promoted through me? No way. Yuejiao, it hurts me to think like this. Dragon Fang revealed a dispirited look. You know I like you. Continue pretending. Don't think I don't know, Big Brother Long, he was killed by you. Get lost, my life and death don't need you to care. Big brother Long He soon, I will come to see you. 2 lines of tears rolled down Long Yuejiao's face. Yuejiao, I really didn't. Dragon Fong looked at Long Yuejiao's heartless look, waved his hand, and was powerless to speak. An ominous glint flashed in his eyes. His gaze swept across and directly stared at Zhongli Lang and the others in the sky. This stare was like the stare of a fearsome beast from hell. Zhongli Lang and the others' expressions changed, and their bodies uncontrollably trembled. They looked at Dragon Fong with faces full of fear. It's you ants who dared to harm my Yuejiao, go to hell. Dragon Fong let out a roar, stretched out his right hand, and grabbed forward. Buzz, the sky trembled, a sky-covering dragon claw slapped towards Zhongli Lang and the others. Space collapsed. Boundless pressure swept down. Zhongli Lang and the others seemed to be imprisoned, unable to move at all. They stared blankly at the sky-covering dragon claw in the sky, their faces full of despair. Chapter 445. Buzz, the sky-covering dragon claw stretched down from the sky, aiming at Zhongli Lang and the others and grabbed down. Seeing this scene, Zhongli Lang and the others all revealed a look of despair. Boom! There was a loud noise, heaven and earth trembled. Boundless waves of air whistled in all directions. Boom! The sky-covering dragon claw directly burst into powder. Really a disgrace to my clan. A sound rang out, waking everyone up with a start. He looked at the sky and could not help but frown. Only to see, in the sky, a man in white leisurely came. His calm expression was like a god-king who controlled everything. This person was Ao Lai, who had transformed from a unicorn. Dragon Fong looked at Ao Lai, his face revealing a trace of fear. Easily breaking his move, the strength of the person who came was definitely not simple. You are? Dragon Fong looked at Ao Lai and asked. Who I am is not important. What's important is that if you dare to attack this seat's friends again, die. Ao Lai said. Hearing these words, Dragon Fong's chest stagnated, and he did not say a word. He glanced at Long Yuejiao from the corner of his eyes, his expression changing. Coward! Long Yuejiao muttered to herself, revealing a look of disdain. Seeing this scene, Dragon Fong clenched his teeth. I am not a coward. Dare to stop this seat from killing ants, you go to hell for this seat. Dragon Fong roared, his voice shaking out and lingering for a long time. The aura on his body soared rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, it increased several times. Buzz, Dragon Fong transformed into his original body, hundreds of thousands of meters long, extending all the way to the depths of the void, unable to see the end at all. Light cyan scales emitted a metallic luster, looking indestructible. 2 sharp giant dragon horns seemed to be able to tear the world and destroy the sky. Seeing this scene, the faces of the people below changed drastically. My God, that's an ancient great azure dragon. What? Dragon Fong's original body is an ancient great azure dragon? Didn't this kind of dragon perish long ago? No, this is formed by the power of the bloodline, it's just temporary. So, Dragon Fong has the bloodline of an ancient great azure dragon. Worthy of being ranked 9th on the heaven list, amazing! Exclamations sounded continuously. Everyone stared blankly at Dragon Fong, admiring him. Roar! Dragon Fong threw his head back and roared. His voice was like thunder, shaking the entire area, causing the color of the sky to change. The void trembled incessantly as if it was afraid of him. Dragon Fong extended his sky-covering claws and slammed them down on Ao Lai. It looked like Ao Lai was about to be smashed into pieces. At this moment, Buzz, there was a tremor. A terrifying force stopped Dragon Fong's claws from moving. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't struggle. In the next second, Dragon Fong's heart sank to hell, and his body trembled violently. A fear that came from his bones spread throughout his body. This scene was like a bloodline pressure. Dragon Fong looked up. His pupils shrank and his body trembled. How is this possible? They saw. The silhouette of a dragon god appeared behind Aeolai. This phantom was very plain, but it possessed a shocking might. It could crush all of Dragon Teeth's means. In front of this dragon god phantom, Dragon Fong did not have the strength to fight at all. The dragon god's soul, my ancestor. F***ck. I can actually see the dragon god's soul. What kind of existence is he? This is really unseen and unheard of. The exclamations kept exploding. Everyone looked at Aeolai blankly, their faces full of surprise. Dragon Fong's body changed rapidly, uncontrollably, and finally turned into a human form, kneeling in front of Aeolai. Say, Senior, I was rude. Please spare this lowly one's life. Dragon Fong crawled in front of Aeolai, shivering. Aeolai looked at Dragon Fong, his face full of cold, killing intent. Dare to attack my friends? You still have the face to beg for mercy? Aeolai said faintly. Senior, I really didn't know they were your friends. If I knew, I wouldn't dare even if I had 10,000 guts. I beg you, spare my life. Dragon Fong knelt in front of Aeolai and kept kowtowing. Humph, go to hell. Aeolai snorted coldly and reached out his hand to grab forward. Buzz, a transparent dragon claw condensed and formed, grabbing Dragon Fong's neck in an instant. Dragon Fong's pupils constricted, and his face changed drastically. Panic was written all over his face, seeing that he was about to crush Dragon Fong. At this time, stop! A light cry reverberated throughout heaven and earth. The transparent dragon claw that Aeolai used directly burst apart. A series of scriptures spread down from the sky. Looking up, he saw a 10,000-meter-tall giant Buddha slowly descending from the void. Golden light sprinkled down like a waterfall. It looked incomparably sacred. The giant Buddha sat cross-legged in the void, looking at Aeolai. In its eyes, a hint of killing intent flashed past. How can you all be insolent in the Buddha city? Let this seat enlighten you. Finished talking, the giant Buddha reached out a sky-covering large hand and slapped down at Aeolai. The terrifying power roared straight to the 9 heavens. When the Buddha city people saw this scene, their expressions changed incessantly. The pressure of a middle-level god. My god, this Buddha city actually has a middle-level god. Is this a middle-level god? Too terrifying, I feel like I'm going to die. The difference between a half-deity and a middle-level god is actually so great. Everyone muttered, looking at the sky, their faces full of fear. The sky-covering large hand did not slow down, pouncing straight towards Aeolai. Aeolai stood in place. His expression changed slightly. Aeolai roared loudly, gritting his teeth and persevering. However, the pressure was getting stronger and stronger. His entire body was trembling violently. As the palm fell, a crack cracked open on Aeolai's body. Blood flew out from the crack. Junior brother, don't be afraid, I, old son, will help you. A roar descended from the sky. Immediately after, a giant rod smashed straight down from the sky. Boom! It smashed directly on the sky-covering large hand, shaking until the air was distorted. Insolent! The giant Buddha snorted coldly. His palm stretched out and grasped, instantly holding the giant rod in his hand. Then, with a twist and a pull, the giant rod moved along with his palm. Goku's expression changed drastically, hurriedly letting go of the golden cudgel. However, bang! Without waiting for Goku to react, the finger covering the sky pointed at him and flicked. Goku's body flew backward, spinning countless times in the sky before stopping. The land of Buddhism, how can you all blaspheme? The giant Buddha's eyes seemed to see billions of miles away, reaching out a giant hand and grabbing forward. Buzz! The sky shook with layers of ripples, and the giant hand penetrated directly and disappeared. When the giant hand pulled back, what was caught in the hand were 3 figures. These 3 figures were Zhu Beiji, Sha Wujing, and Ning Mingji. Is this old man Rely? It's too scary. Zhu Beiji's face was full of fear. No, he's just a little Buddha, Sha Wujing said. Master, what should we do? Zhu Beiji asked. Ning Mingji opened his mouth and didn't say a word. Come back. The giant Buddha spat out a word. Suddenly, Ao Lai and Goku's bodies flew out and fell into the giant hand. This seat will begin to enlighten you. Be a good person in your next life. After speaking, the giant Buddha clenched his palm hard. Chapter 446. West of Buddha City. Buzz! The sky shook with layers of ripples, and 3 figures walked out of it. These 3 people were Sun Hao, Thunder Tribulation Lord, and Six-Eared Macaque. Dong dong, just standing in the sky, Sun Hao pressed his violently beating heart, showing an uncomfortable expression. Come on, come on. A call sounded in his mind. He listened carefully, but he couldn't hear anything. Who the hell is calling me? Why can I hear it here again? Sun Hao frowned, showing an uncomfortable expression. Young master, what's wrong with you? Thunder Tribulation Lord came up with a worried face. I'm fine. Sun Hao waved his hand, took a deep breath, and looked ahead. With a sweep of his divine sense, the 5,000 miles were all in his mind. Compared with the previous 1,000 miles, the scanning diameter was 10 times larger. All of this was thanks to those mental powers. After a while, Sun Hao retracted his divine sense, showing a trace of anger on his face. Let's go. One step out, and the 3 instantly disappeared in place. Over the Buddha city. Buzz, the world trembled. The giant Buddha's hand clenched quickly. 5 giant fingers, like Optimus Prime, blasted at Ning Mingji and the others. This, sensing the irresistible power, Ning Mingji and the others closed their eyes and waited quietly for death. However, after waiting for a while, there was no reaction. Everyone opened their eyes in doubt, showing a puzzled look. Only to see. Fine beads of sweat overflowed on the giant Buddha's forehead, and a touch of panic was written on his face. He clenched his teeth and clenched it hard. But he found that he couldn't clench it even after exhausting all his method. Who is it? Get out of here for this seat. The giant Buddha's voice was like thunder rolling out. However, the giant Buddha looked for a long time and found nothing. On the giant Buddha's face, there was more and more fear. However, the giant Buddha looked for a long time and found nothing. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and looked at his palm, and his face changed slightly. He didn't know when a monk stood in the palm. At this moment, the monk was looking at Ning Mingji and the others and said, Are you all right? Master, you are? Ning Mingji and the others were also full of doubts. Hearing these words, the monk looked at himself, and his mind moved, instantly changing into Sun Hao's original appearance. He was dressed in white and looked very calm. Every single one of his movements carried his own Tao rhythm, which was pleasing to the eye. Young master? Seeing Sun Hao, Ning Mingji and the others showed uncontrollable surprise. Thump, thump, one by one, they knelt in front of Sun Hao. Greetings, young master. Their voices were in unison, shaking the heavens. Don't stand on ceremony. Sun Hao nodded slightly and glanced around. Fu Su Yiling, Mu Bing, and Xian Yuan sure flew up. His injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a moment, he was back to normal. Not only that, but the strength of the 3 of them also increased rapidly. Greetings, young master. The 3 women walked to Sun Hao and bowed slightly. Don't stand on ceremony. Sun Hao nodded slightly. One figure after another flew quickly and landed in front of Sun Hao. Zhongli Lang, Xianyuan Yi, Wu Han, these dozens of figures were all elites of the Evil Suppression Alliance. Everyone had been to Sun Hao's mansion. Looking at Sun Hao, everyone's face was filled with uncontrollable joy. Subsequently, plop, he knelt down and kowtowed in salute. Greetings, young master. Their voices were in unison, shaking the heavens. Such a scene directly awakened everyone. Everyone's eyes were staring at Sun Hao blankly, their faces full of puzzlement. Who is he? Why do so many half-gods have to kneel to him? What? There are no fluctuations of power, and he's still just a mortal? Fake, right? Dream, this must be a dream. So many half-gods kneel to a mortal, this is unreasonable. The giant Buddha was also looking at Sun Hao at this moment. In his eyes, the light kept flowing, and various secret techniques kept being used. After a while, the giant Buddha withdrew his gaze. Exhausted, Sun Hao seemed to be just a mortal. It seemed that he couldn't see through this person's strength. Who are you? The giant Buddha asked. Everyone is welcome. However, Sun Hao didn't look at the giant Buddha at all. Everything that the giant Buddha did was ignored. Seeing this scene, the corner of the giant Buddha's mouth twitched slightly, and a touch of anger flashed away. Dare to be so arrogant in the Buddha kingdom, are you the first? I'd like to see how much ability you have. The giant Buddha muttered to himself, his mind moved and he clenched his fist. However, he exhausted all his strength and couldn't clench it. Suddenly, a gaze swept over. The giant Buddha's body trembled violently, and cold sweat flowed on his forehead. It was Sun Hao who swept his gaze. Boom! He walked towards the giant Buddha step by step. Every step was like stepping on the giant Buddha's chest, making his body tremble, and beads of sweat rolled down. The giant Buddha's voice trembled, and his huge body shrank uncontrollably. Soon, he turned into the size of a normal person, and stood in front of Sun Hao. Say, why did you attack my friend? Sun Hao said. This sound made the giant Buddha's body tremble, and in his heart, he couldn't produce any resistance. Great! My lord, that's because they disturbed the Buddha city. The giant Buddha said. In this way, you will attack whoever disturbs the Buddha city? Sun Hao asked. The giant Buddha's body trembled, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He nodded repeatedly, yes, yes. In this way, they didn't disturb the Buddha city? Sun Hao pointed to Dragon Fang and Long Yuejiao and asked. This finger was like the finger of hell. Dragon Fang and Long Yuejiao's body trembled, and their expressions were ugly. The giant Buddha's face was also pale. Senior, they are dragons. Dragons? So you are a lackey of the dragon clan? Sun Hao looked at the giant Buddha, his face full of killing intent. It seems that you don't have to live in this world. This sentence shocked the giant Buddha's face, and he waved his hand again and again. Senior, I can't die. Otherwise, the Buddha road can't be opened. The giant Buddha said. The Buddha road can't be opened? Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth, stretched out his finger, and pointed at the Buddha road. Wisps of golden silk flew out of Sun Hao's fingertips and instantly entered the Buddha road. Buzz, a sound shook from the depths of the Buddha road, whistling both ends. Originally, the inside of the Buddha road was dark, and the black silk kept flying. At this moment, it became a golden avenue, enough for 10 people to walk side by side. It looked like it was shining brightly. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's nerves. Everyone's eyes widened, showing an incredulous expression. That kind of stupor, that kind of shock, that kind of surprise. Words couldn't describe it. At this moment, the entire field was dead silent. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Sun Hao, as if looking at a Buddha. The giant Buddha stared blankly at this scene, opened his mouth, and didn't spit out a word. One finger to open the Buddha road? Who is he? The giant Buddha stared at Sun Hao, and for a while, he couldn't calm down at all. Chapter 447. Buddha, the Buddha's road is open like this? Are my eyes playing tricks or am I dreaming? Isn't this too fake? Fake, it must be fake. Doesn't opening the Buddha's road need to pray to Buddha sincerely? He is immortal, how can he have this ability? Everyone stared at Sun Hao blankly, and their faces changed. Surprise, awe, mystery, disbelief, after a while. Go with the Buddha's road token. I have the Buddha's road token, Buddha's road, I'm coming. The Buddha's position belongs to me. One by one, they soared into the sky and went straight to the Buddha's road. There were even some who did not possess a Buddhist path medallion that rushed forward. Buzz, after rushing into the Buddha's road, the light flashed and disappeared. You don't have the Buddha's road token, what are you going to do? I feel like I can rush in. In an instant, this person rushed into the Buddha's road. Buzz, the light flashed and also disappeared. The Buddha's road didn't stop him at all. Such a scene strongly stimulated the eyes of others. People without a token can also go in? They muttered to themselves with a surprised face. You can go in without the Buddha's road token, what are you still doing, rush? A sound exploded in the Buddha city. This sound was like a stone stirring up 1,000 layers of waves. The whole Buddha city was in an uproar. They soared into the sky one after another and went straight to the Buddha's road. Even if there were those who didn't believe it after seeing someone go in, they rushed to the Buddha's road desperately. Buzz, the Buddha's road seemed to contain everything and did not stop anyone. The Buddha's position is mine. Haha, the divine cultivation method belongs to me. Everything is mine. There were tens of millions of people in the Buddha city. The way they soared into the sky was like locusts all over the sky, which made people's scalp numb. The giant Buddha looked at this scene, opened his mouth, and couldn't say a word. He withdrew his gaze and lowered his head, showing a look of despair on his face. One finger broke the Buddha's road, and thousands of restrictions were vulnerable in front of him. This kind of ability was simply unseen. Who the hell is he? It's over. The giant Buddha closed his eyes and waited for death secretly. However, after waiting for a while, he didn't see Sun Hao kill him. Looking up, his face changed slightly. They saw. Dong dong, Sun Hao pressed his chest, his face ugly. His heart suddenly throbbed, as if it was about to jump out of his throat. It was extremely uncomfortable. Come quickly, shouts resounded in his mind. Sun Hao's face showed a painful expression. Young master, everyone gathered around and looked at Sun Hao with a worried face. Good chance. The giant Buddha looked at Sun Hao, and a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. Buzz, he took a step forward, stirring up layers of ripples in the sky before disappearing. Yu Jiao, let's go. Dragon Fong used his divine sense to speak to Long Yuejiao. I don't need you to care. Long Yuejiao was the first to take a step forward. In a flash, she entered the path of Buddha and disappeared. Dragon Fong opened his mouth, and his face revealed a wisp of an ugly expression. Finally, she gritted her teeth and entered the path of Buddhism. I'm fine. Sun Hao waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. He looked at Su Yiling and others and glanced around. Then, he asked, Miss Yiling, why didn't I see Miss Lu Yen? As soon as these words came out, a heavy color was written on everyone's face. The tears in Su Yiling's eyes fell unconsciously. Young master, my master, she was swallowed by the space turbulence. Su Yiling said. What? Sun Hao was shocked and asked, what the hell is going on? Young master, it's like this. Su Yiling opened her mouth and said one sentence at a time. It turned out that after they arrived at Elysium, they found that it was empty. On Mount Meru, they found a space transmission channel. This transmission channel just led to the Buddha kingdom. In order to find out the truth, Luo Luyen rushed forward without hesitation. As a result, she didn't expect it to be a trap. Luo Luyen was swallowed by the space turbulence on the spot and disappeared. Later, with everyone's efforts, they finally found the entrance to the Buddha kingdom on Mount Meru. So, they came to the Buddha kingdom. Listening to this, Sun Hao frowned secretly. Why did everyone disappear on Mount Meru? Who was the one who created that spatial turbulence? Is Miss Lu Yen really gone? Thinking of the plump girl in purple, Sun Hao sighed secretly. Sun Hao looked at Goku and shouted, Goku! Young master! Goku came forward with a respectful look. Do you know what is the chance of survival after people are swallowed by the space turbulence? Sun Hao asked. Young master, it depends on the strength of the person, Goku said. My master is a first-grade demigod, Su Yiling said. First-grade demigod? Goku frowned slightly, then sighed secretly. In the space turbulence between planes like this, generally speaking, the God King's chance of survival is less than 10%. The Divine Lord only has a 20% chance of survival. Even the God Emperor only has a 50% chance of survival. As for those under the God King, they are basically dead, Goku said. As soon as these words came out, the faces of everyone in the Evil Suppression Alliance changed drastically. So, Leader Luo has no chance of survival? Is there a need to ask? Under the God King, there is no chance of survival. AI, the leader with such a good perception, left us like this. In the future, who will lead the Evil Suppression Alliance? Yes, the deputy leader also went to the source of sin. I don't know when he will return. Master. Su Yiling's tears fell from her eyes. Although she had known this result for a long time, she still couldn't control her emotions when she heard it at this moment. Goku, where will the demigod's soul be sent after it disintegrates? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the demigod's soul will only be sent to one place, that is, the Xianming River, where it will be reorganized, Goku said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. It seemed that as long as he went to the Xianming River to grab Luo Liuyan's soul, then resurrection was also possible. Miss Yiling, don't worry, anyway, I am going to the Xianming River. When the time comes, we will find Miss Liuyan's soul fragment together. Presumably, resurrection is not a problem, Sun Hao said. Su Yiling's face showed a touch of emotion, and she bowed to Sun Hao. Young master, thank you. No need to be polite. Sun Hao smiled and nodded. Young master, can we go in this Buddhist road? Ning Mingji stepped forward and asked. Of course. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Go, you all go to the Buddhist road. Young master, what about you? Su Yiling asked. I'm not in a hurry, I'll talk about it later. You all come out. Sun Hao looked at the sky and shouted. Buzz, the sky trembled, and two figures walked out of the ripples and stood in front of Sun Hao. Chapter 448. Phew, the sky trembled, and two figures walked out of the ripples. These two people were Six-Eared Macaque and Thunder Calamity Dominator. Everyone's expression changed when they saw Six-Eared Macaque. What? Six-Eared Macaque? Wasn't he an ancient fiend demon? Why are you here? It's said that he's been contaminated with the ultimate chi, so his temper is very bad. For him to be so obedient in front of the young master, does this mean that he has been subdued by the young master? Oh my God, the young master is too powerful! An ancient fiend demon of this level can actually be tamed? Everyone looked at Sun Hao with admiration. Sun Wukong looked at the Six-Eared Macaque and his face changed. Two rays of golden light shot out from his eyes. Ah, petty thief, you're asking for a beating. Sun Wukong swung the Jingu Bang at the Six-Eared Macaque. Asking for a beating? Do you think I, old Sun, am afraid of you? The Six-Eared Macaque was not afraid at all. It stood where it was, waiting for Sun Wukong to pounce on it. Buzz! He waved his iron cudgel and smashed it at Sun Wukong. The two apes flew into the air and started fighting. Ding! The sound of metal clashing could be heard continuously. They fought back and forth, and were equally matched. Cracks appeared in the sky as if they were about to explode. Boom! There was a loud noise. The two monkeys quickly separated from each other, staring at each other. That's all you got? Six-Eared Macaque smiled, his face full of contempt. I, old Sun, only used 10% of my strength and you're already this tired? Who doesn't know how to boast? Again. Sun Wukong roared and used his 3 heads and 6 arms to attack the Six-Eared Macaque. I, old Sun, am not afraid of you. The Six-Eared Macaque was not afraid at all. With 3 heads and 6 arms, it fought with Sun Wukong. Not long after. Boom! A loud explosion shook the heavens and split the earth. The rod hit Sun Wukong's head. This strike made Sun Wukong dizzy and disoriented. After a long time, Sun Wukong stabilized his body. He looked at the six-eared macaque with fear in his eyes. "Wait till I find more demonic powers, then we'll fight to the death." "Fight to the death? Do you think I, old Sun, will give you a chance?" After that, six-eared macaque swung his iron rod and charged at Sun Wukong. The iron rod was about to smash Sun Wukong's head. At this moment, "All right," a soft shout was heard. This voice carried with it a shocking might, completely dispelling the might of the two of them. Six-eared macaque and Sun Wukong's expressions changed. They quickly lowered their heads. They flew in front of Sun Hao and saluted with their fists. "Young master." The two monkeys glanced at each other, their faces filled with reluctance. "The two of you were originally victims of the Aeon Span. Why are you acting like this? Are you all afraid of the mastermind?" Like a thunderclap, the two of them felt their heads buzzing. At this moment, they looked at each other and seemed to understand that the enemy was not the other. Six-eared macaque and Sun Wukong nodded at the same time. "Master, you are right. Old man Rulai, this enmity isn't over. Old man Rulai, wash your neck clean and wait for me." Six-eared macaque and Sun Wukong looked determined. "All right, Goku, follow them to the Buddhist road. Lu Er, follow me," Sun Hao said. "Yes, young master." Everyone nodded in unison, stepped forward, and went straight to the Buddhist road. Buzz, after walking into the Buddhist road, they disappeared. In the Buddhist city there were fewer and fewer people. Soon after, standing over the Buddhist city, only Sun Hao, Thunder Tribulation Lord, and Six-eared Macaque were left. "Young master, why did you let that Buddha go?" Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. Sun Hao smiled slightly, showing a calm look. "Let him go back to report." "Report, young master, do you mean to see the Buddhist country lord?" Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth, revealing an unfathomable smile. "Don't worry, you will know soon." "Young master, are we going to the Buddhist road?" Six-eared Macaque asked. "No." Sun Hao shook his head slightly. "Young master, you don't want the god-level cultivation method on the Buddhist road?" Six-eared Macaque was shocked. "On the Buddhist road, there is no cultivation method at all, only conspiracy," Sun Hao said. "Conspiracy?" The two were full of doubts. "Yes, this Buddhist road is actually a road of faith. Anyone who walks on it needs to believe in Tathagata to walk on it. Moreover, it is full of dangers and traps. If you are not careful, you will die," Sun Hao said. "Young master, since it is the road of faith, why only 100,000 people are allowed to enter each time the Buddhist road opens? The more people, isn't the more power of faith?" Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. Sun Hao smiled slightly, looked at Thunder Tribulation Lord and said, "You are right. However, the more people, the more heterogeneous the power of faith, and the more time it takes to purify. Even some power of faith can affect the mind," Sun Hao said. "Young master, you deliberately put everyone in to disturb the mind of Tathagata?" Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. Hee, Sun Hao smiled slightly. "The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. Young master, if we don't go to the Buddhist road, where are we going?" Six-eared Macaque asked. "Naturally, Thunder Temple," Sun Hao said. "Thunder Temple?" "Young master, the bottom of the Buddhist road is Thunder Temple," Six-eared Macaque said. "You are right. Go." After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed forward. A golden ripple appeared in front of Sun Hao. "Go." The three of them strode forward and instantly disappeared from where they stood. When he reappeared, he was above a boundless ocean. In the sky, black clouds pressed down and there was no daylight. The seawater was dark and thick, without any luster. The entire sea was calm, without any undulations. It looked like a black mirror. "Where is this?" The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign looked at the sea with a hint of fear on his face. I think it's the bitter sea, Six Ears Macaque said. What? The sea of bitterness? Is there really a sea of bitterness in this world? The Thunder Tribulation Lord's eyes widened in disbelief. Yes, this is the sea of bitterness, and at the same time, it is also the Lane Temple, Sun Hao said, as soon as these words came out. At this moment, it was not only the Thunder Tribulation Dominator who was surprised, but even the six-eared macaque was stunned at the moment, with a look of disbelief. Young Master, is this true? The two looked at Sun Hao with a questioning expression. Sun Hao did not respond to the two. He also looked at the bitter sea, and his eyes seemed to penetrate the bottom of the sea. Dong dong! Dong dong! His heart beat more and more violently. An uncomfortable feeling welled up all over his body. Come on, come on! The call in his ear was getting louder and louder. Sun Hao pressed his chest and frowned. Young Master, are you okay? The Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. I'm fine. You two get ready. Sun Hao looked at the two of them, showing a solemn expression. Yes. The six-eared macaque's thoughts moved and changed into 3 heads and 6 arms. Buzz, the Thunder Tribulation Lord's body changed rapidly, turning into a 10,000-meter-tall giant with 4 heads and 8 arms. On his body, the lightning flashed. Seeing the appearance of the two, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed at the bitter sea. Buzz, the bitter sea trembled, and the sound of explosions continued. A shocking change was staged. Chapter 449. Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed at the bitter sea. Hum! A roar shook the sea of bitterness. This finger was like a drop of water dripping into a pan of oil, bursting. Boom! The loud noise continued. The sea shook up and down, and it looked like a Category 20 typhoon blowing on the sea. Squeak! Howl! All kinds of strange cries came from the bitter sea. When the six-eared macaque and the Thunder Tribulation Lord saw this scene, they were like facing a great enemy, showing an extremely dignified expression. Suddenly, Kacha, the sound of bones rubbing overwhelmed all the sounds. A 1,000-meter-long skeleton claw came up from the bitter sea. Save me, save me! As the claw rose, there was a cry for help. The six-eared macaque's face changed slightly, and the iron rod in his hand trembled slightly. His whole face showed a look of pity. The Thunder Tribulation Lord was even worse than the six-eared macaque. The electric light on his body dissipated. At this moment, he looked at the bitter sea as if looking at a child waiting for him to save. Wake up! A light shout blasted in the ears of the two. Suddenly, the six-eared macaque woke up. He looked at the white bone claw only a few meters away from him, and his face changed drastically. Without thinking about it, he waved the iron rod and smashed it down at the white claw. Boom! The loud noise shook the sky, and the sea was turbulent. The white claw was smashed by the six-eared macaque's rod and fell into the bitter sea. Squeak! A sad cry came from the bitter sea, shaking the world. Squeak! Immediately afterward, all kinds of strange cries resounded through the sky. A white bone claw drilled out of the bitter sea. These bone claws were like beasts, eagles, humans, different. The same thing was that each bone claw carried a shocking power, as if it could tear everything. Come on! The six-eared macaque shouted softly, pulled out a ball of hair from the back of his head, and blew it gently. Change! Hum! The world trembled, and thousands of clones quickly formed. Yeah! Kill! Each clone waved the iron rod and slammed it down at the bone claw. Boom! Boom! The sound of the explosion was endless. In front of the iron rod, the bone claw could not withstand a smash and shattered. On the other side, the Thunder Tribulation Lord's 8 arms moved together. Sizzle! Boundless lightning appeared in his hands, and 4 balls of lightning quickly formed. Go! The 4 lightning balls fell into the sea of bitterness in 4 different directions. Boom! Boom! 4 consecutive explosions rang out. The lightning ball exploded in the sea of bitterness. Countless electric arcs burst out and rapidly spread in all directions. The entire sea of bitterness was illuminated by the lightning. Wherever the lightning reached, the bone claw cracked open and exploded into fine powder. Squeak, an earth-shattering wail came from the sea of bitterness, shaking people's minds. Boom! The entire sea of bitterness was shaking violently, as if a terrifying monster was about to come out. Suddenly, Sun Hao raised his eyebrows and looked not far away, and his face changed slightly. Go! After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed forward. Buzz, ripples appeared in the sky. He walked into the ripples with the Thunder Tribulation ruler and six-eared macaque, disappearing on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already 10,000 li away. "Mister, what's wrong?" Six Ears Macaque asked. "Let them fight for a while," Sun Hao said. "Them?" The six-eared macaque and the Thunder Tribulation ruler were puzzled. "Look!" Sun Hao waved his right hand, and in the sky, a light and shadow pattern was reflected. It looked like a live broadcast. In the picture, it was the Sea of Bitterness. Only to see. Over the Sea of Bitterness. Buzz, the sky shook with layers of ripples, and two monks walked out of the ripples. One fat and one thin, one tall and one short. These two were the transformation of the Purple Sun Star's demon race, Blood Knight, and the evil race's lord, Guizhu. They stood in the sky, looking at the shaking sea of bitterness, and the corners of their mouths were full of cold smiles. "Dead bald donkey, you never thought that we would come to find your true body. When we destroy your true body, your clones will be like rootless duckweed, no longer have to rely on. At that time, we will clean up your remaining clones. All of this you forced us." Blood Knight and Guizhu showed a look of resentment. "Brother Blood Knight, is this really the bald donkey's lair? Why does it look like my clan's territory?" Guizhu asked. "Do you think the old bald donkey is a good person? In this sea of bitterness, it is full of skeletons killed by him, and even the soul is bound here, never to be reincarnated." Blood Knight said. "What? This old bald donkey is worse than us?" Guizhu said. "Isn't that nonsense? We are bad on the surface, and he is bad in the bones. On the surface, he is benevolent, taking saving the world as his duty, harvesting the faith power of the world. Behind the scenes, he does all kinds of evil, refining all his opponents into bitter slaves. You see, there are hundreds of billions of bitter slaves in the entire sea of bitterness. You say, can this old bald donkey be a good person?" Blood Knight's words left Ghost Candle dumbfounded. Guizhu looked at the entire sea of bitterness, opened his mouth wide, and murmured for a long time without saying a word. His shocked appearance could not be described in words. Originally, he is bad, I am bad, well, water does not interfere with the river water. If you want to blame him for destroying our good deeds," Blood Knight said. "Brother Blood Knight, you say, what should we do?" Guizhu said. "What else can we do? Break his sea of bitterness, destroy his Lane temple, destroy his true body." Blood Knight said. "Okay." Guizhu nodded. Boom, above the sea of bitterness, the shaking became more and more intense. Giant bone claws drilled out of the sea of bitterness. Each bone claw carried the aura of a lower god. As time passed, human-shaped skeletons stood up from the sea of bitterness. Each skeleton was tens of thousands of meters tall, like giants standing proudly in heaven and earth. The number was so many that one could not see the end at all. Huff, the human-shaped skeleton gripped the giant axe tightly in its right hand and struck it heavily on the giant shield in its left hand, emitting a neat roar. The whole thing looked like a well-trained army. Seeing this scene, Blood Knight and Guizhu's expressions did not change. The two looked at each other, nodded, and moved in unison. Huff, on the two's bodies, blood chi surged, whistling to the sky and howling to the earth. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped the entire world. The entire sky turned red. Buzz, in the blood mist, blood-colored giants tens of thousands of meters tall condensed into humans. Each blood-colored giant exuded the aura of a lower god, and compared to the giant skeleton, it was not the slightest bit weaker. Kill, one finger pointed. The blood-colored giants moved together, aimed at the giant skeleton, and pounced over. The two sides fought together in an instant. Boom! Boom! The explosions kept ringing, and the air waves kept shaking all around. One by one, the blood-colored giants were cut apart. Similarly, the giant skeleton was also collapsing rapidly. The whole battlefield was a well-matched battle. The more they fought, the more intense the whole scene became. Soon after, all the giant skeleton collapsed and disappeared. In the sky, the blood mist was still thick. Tens of thousands of blood-colored giants stood in the sky, constantly beating their chests, like gorillas who had won. Howl, bursts of roars resounded through the world. Overestimating yourself. Blood Knight and Gui Zhu looked at this scene, their faces full of cold smiles. The next second the two's faces changed dramatically, and they secretly said not good. P.S. Asking for monthly votes. Chapter 450. Moo Moo, Buddhist chants came from the Sea of Bitterness. Following that, the golden light pierced through the surface of the sea and shot straight into the sky, dyeing the entire world golden. It looked like it was glistening with life and looked very sacred. The skeletons that were floating along with the Sea of Bitterness were all burned into golden ashes by the golden light. Buzz, the surface of the sea trembled, and the black seawater turned golden. It looked like golden lava. Sizzle, the golden light became denser and denser. It landed on the blood-colored giant in the sky, causing wisps of black smoke to rise. Howl, the blood-colored giant stretched out a fist that blotted out the sky, aimed at the Sea of Misery, and smashed down. However, before the fist could land, the blood-colored giant's arm shattered bit by bit and dissipated. In the end, the gigantic body crumbled into dust and disappeared. A few breaths later, tens of thousands of blood-colored giants were burned to ashes by the golden light. Ghost Candle and Blood Knight's expressions changed slightly when they saw this. They looked at the Sea of Misery with solemn expressions. Moo moo moo, the Buddhist chants grew louder and louder, and the golden light grew brighter and brighter. A golden hall that was tens of thousands of meters long and thousands of meters tall emerged from the Sea of Bitterness and floated in midair. One by one, the Buddhas stood in front of the main hall with their palms clasped together and their mouths chanting. Scriptures flew out of their mouth. It quickly spread across the sky and covered the world. Buzz, with a rumble, a beam of golden light lit up the hall. This golden light was extremely dazzling. It suppressed all the other light, making it so that no one dared to look directly at it. The golden light flew to the front of the palace. Soon, he transformed into a 10,000-meter-tall Buddha. This giant Buddha was the ruler of the Buddhist nation. His gaze swept over and landed on Blood Knight and Ghost Candle. Two beams of golden light shot out from the eyes of the Buddhist nation's sovereign and swept over. Few, Shui Yi and Shui Yu were covered in a faint red aura that blocked the golden light, preventing it from probing them. Who are you? Why are you behaving atrociously in my Buddhist kingdom? Retracting his gaze, the Buddhist nation's sovereign looked at the two of them and said, Old bald donkey, stop pretending. Don't you know why we're here? Die. After this sound, Blood Knight and Ghost Candle's bodies rapidly transformed. Gotcha! The sound of joints rubbing against each other could be heard. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had transformed into two gigantic crimson beasts that were over 10,000 meters tall. These two blood-colored beasts had the head of a dog, the body of a beast, and the ears of a rabbit. They were 5,000 meters long. Its front claws were like those of an eagle, and its back claws were like those of a lion. It looked like a strange beast that resembled nothing, yet resembled everything at the same time. Blood Knight and Ghost Candle's auras increased dozens of times. It looked like it could devour the heavens and devour the earth, tearing apart everything in its path. When the Buddhist nation sovereign saw this, his expression changed slightly. A wisp of fear flashed in his eyes. To actually become Swanese slaves, you all have done well. Buddhist country sovereign said. Haha, that's a great existence. How can an old bald donkey like you understand? Die. Blood Knight and Ghost Candle charged at the Buddhist nation sovereign from the left and right. Humph. The Buddhist nation sovereign coldly snorted. At the same time, he stretched out his hands and punched forward. Boom! A loud explosion shook the heavens and the earth. A terrifying shock wave swept out in all directions with the Buddhist nation's sovereign at the center. Bang! The shock wave immediately hit the thousands of Buddhas. They all fell to the ground. Pooh! A mouthful of blood spurted out from the mouths of these Buddhas. Their faces were ugly, and they sat up with difficulty. Buzz! The shock wave did not stop, and with the momentum of toppling the mountains and overturning the seas, it attacked in all directions. The entire sea of bitterness shook violently. Soon, these shock waves hit a black mountain range. Boom! The Black Mountain Range could not withstand such power at all and was quickly exploding. Under the Black Mountain Range, there were tens of millions of people who had stepped into the Buddhist road. Sensing the explosion of the mountain, many people's faces changed dramatically, and they secretly said that it was not good, seeing that the sound of the explosion was about to drown them. At this time, a gentle force enveloped everyone. Boom! The sound of the explosion continued. The entire Black Mountain Range was moved to the ground, and the people on the Buddhist road were unscathed. They stood in place, secretly wiped their cold sweat, revealing a touch of joy after surviving a disaster. What happened? The Buddhist road actually collapsed. It must have been the Buddha who saved us just now. Everyone muttered to themselves, looking around. Suddenly, everyone's eyebrows twitched, looking at the sky above the bitter sea, and their faces changed drastically. That is the Lord of the Buddhist nation. Lane Temple, we have arrived at the Lane Temple. Rush, whoever rushes over first, the Buddhist position belongs to him. Don't move, look over there. A loud shout jolted everyone awake. Looking at the direction of the hand, everyone's face changed dramatically, and fear was written all over their faces. Only to see, in front of the Lord of the Buddhist nation, two giant beasts were staring at him. These two giant beasts were the transformation of Blood Knight and Ghost Candle. That is the ancient vicious beast. Ho! What? Didn't Ho perish long ago? Why are there two of them? My God, fortunately I didn't rush forward, otherwise I would have been swallowed by them. Everyone looked at Blood Knight and Ghost Candle, their faces were full of fear. For these, Blood Knight and Ghost Candle seemed to have not noticed. At this moment they stared at the Lord of the Buddhist nation, ready to attack at any time. The Lord of the Buddhist nation turned around and stared. Immediately, thousands of Buddhas hurriedly sat cross-legged on the ground, put their hands together, and began to chant. They did not care about the blood spilling from the corner of their mouth. A look of fear flashed across their faces. The scriptures flew out from their mouths, enveloping the entire world. Finally, it quickly entered the body of the Lord of the Buddhist nation. The aura of the Lord of the Buddhist nation was rapidly rising. Seeing this scene, Blood Knight and Ghost Candle's face changed dramatically, and without any hesitation, they rushed straight to the Lord of the Buddhist nation. Boom! The earth-shattering noise continued one after another. Boundless waves of air roared to the sky. The terrifying power seemed to want to collapse the entire Buddhist nation. Retreat, quickly retreat, on the road of Buddha, everyone quickly retreated and watched from afar. This battle, the sun and moon lost their light and the world changed color. The entire sea of bitterness seemed to evaporate. For a long time, the scene gradually calmed down. When all the power dissipated, everyone looked in the direction of the Thunder Sound Temple, and their faces changed dramatically. Only to see, The lord of the Buddhist nation clutched his chest, his face extremely ugly. Behind him, the group of Buddhas all fell to the ground. Their bodies were covered with cracks, and they were on the verge of collapse. In front of the lord of the Buddhist nation were the seriously injured and dying Ghost Candle and Blood Knight. At this moment, they had already transformed into human form. Looking at the lord of the Buddhist nation, their faces were full of unwillingness. You have already transformed into thousands of incarnations. How can your main body still be so strong? Blood Knight pointed to the lord of the Buddhist nation and asked, "Thousands of incarnations? I don't know what you are talking about." The lord of the Buddhist nation said, "Pretend, you really know how to pretend. We are all going to die. Are you still not willing to tell us the truth?" Ghost Candle said, "What pretend?" The lord of the Buddhist nation looked puzzled. Purple Sun Star. Star, godly cunning path. Taoist, is not your clone? Blood Knight looked above the Buddhist nation, revealing an expression of desire for the truth. Chapter 451. Godly Cunning Immortal? What godly cunning path? I have been suppressing this place all this time. When have I ever been to the purple sun star that you speak of? These two sentences exploded in Blood Knight and Ghost Candle's minds like thunder. At this moment, both of their minds were blank. Their entire bodies were devoid of blood. If it's not him, then who is the godly cunning immortal? After saying this, Shui Yi and Shui Yi gradually stopped breathing. Even in death, he did not close his eyes. Looking at the two people who died with their eyes wide open, the Buddhist nation sovereign was filled with rage. After fighting for so long, you guys are looking for trouble with the godly cunning immortal? Godly cunning immortal? Don't let me know who you are. Otherwise, I'll chop you into pieces. The Buddhist nation sovereign thought to himself as he waved his right hand. Two rays of golden light flew toward Shui Yi and Gui Zhu. Instantly, their bodies crumbled into dust and disappeared. At this point, the two of them were completely dead. That action just now had caused the wounds on his body to reopen, causing the Buddhist nation sovereign to suck in a breath of cold air. He looked at the onlookers in the distance, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a faint smile. Congratulations to all of you for passing the test of the path of Buddha. I have 1,000 Buddha seats here. The first to fly in front of me will be yours. These words were like a clap of thunder in the ears of millions of people. Their eyes widened in disbelief. Swish, as soon as the Buddhist nation sovereign finished speaking, hundreds of thousands of people shot up into the sky and headed straight for the Buddhist nation sovereign. Everyone used all their means, unwilling to fall behind. Not good, they're ahead of us. Charge, the Buddha position is mine. Don't you dare fight with me. The angry roars continued without end. Tens of thousands of rainbows were like meteors that filled the sky, rapidly flying towards the Buddhist nation sovereign. As the Buddhist nation sovereign saw this, the corners of his lips curled up. A sinister smile flashed across his face, but it disappeared in an instant. Someone was about to rush to his side. Buzz, heaven and earth shook. Time froze and space stopped. Everyone's movements froze on the spot. Wait! It wasn't loud, but it reverberated in everyone's mind. A white-robed man walked out of the ripples and stood in front of everyone. This person was Sun Hao. Every eyeball turned and stared at Sun Hao. It's him! A big shot who broke the path of Buddhism? What is he doing here? Could it be that he's trying to snatch the Buddha's position from us? Bullsh *T. Why would such a big shot care about the position of Buddha? Everyone looked at Sun Hao, their faces full of doubts. All of you, step down first. A light shout shook heaven and earth. Following that, tens of millions of people flew out uncontrollably, floating hundreds of miles away. The shackles on their bodies disappeared. At this moment they regained their freedom. The Buddhist nation sovereign looked at Sun Hao, the corners of his mouth twitching slightly, and his expression fluctuated. To be able to save so many people right under his nose, This person's strength was definitely not weaker than his. Why would such a person appear here? Who are you? Why have you come to my Buddhist kingdom? The sovereign of the Buddhist nation looked at Sun Hao and asked. Sun Hao smiled slightly, pointed to the bitter sea, and said, "It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that I'm going down." As soon as these words came out, the Buddhist nation sovereign's expression changed drastically. That look seemed to touch something in his heart. "Fellow Taoist, the one imprisoned below is an ancient great demon. You must not go down. Otherwise, even if your strength is monstrous, your mind will be affected by the ancient great demon and you will become a slave of the ancient great demon," the Buddhist nation sovereign said. Do I need you to talk nonsense? Hurry up and open the passage." Sun Hao looked at the Buddhist nation sovereign and said faintly. The Buddhist nation sovereign looked at Sun Hao, his expression changing. "Venerable Noa, where have you been? If the path of Buddhism is not guarded, the message will not be returned. Someone is knocking on the door, and he still hasn't appeared? What should I do? I must delay for time." The Buddhist nation sovereign thought secretly, looked at Sun Hao, and said, "Fellow Taoist, it's not impossible to open the passage. Fellow Taoist, why do you want to go down? Please give me an explanation," the Buddhist nation sovereign said. "I don't need to explain my actions to others. Hurry up and open it, otherwise don't blame me for being impolite." Sun Hao's voice shook between heaven and earth, lingering for a long time. As soon as these words came out, the whole scene was dead silent. Everyone's eyes widened, revealing an incredulous expression. To be so domineering in front of the Buddhist nation sovereign, who else in the world today? As expected of the young master, it's really amazing. Yeah, I don't know when I, old son, can be so domineering without looking at other people's faces. This Buddhist nation sovereign is at least a 5th-grade god, but the young master is not afraid at all. Could it be that the young master's strength has reached the superior god? I think it's far more than that. It's very likely that he's a supreme god or even a main god. It's impossible, right? How could the Buddhist nation withstand the pressure of a supreme god or even a main god? The young master is by no means an ordinary god. He can control his pressure freely. Everyone looked at Sun Hao with a face of worship. The corner of the Buddhist nation sovereign's mouth twitched, and his face turned black. The expression of unwillingness was written all over his face. "Fellow Taoist, don't go too far," the Buddhist nation sovereign said. The words just finished. Buzz, the world trembled, and a transparent palm quickly condensed and formed. In an instant, it pinched the neck of the Buddhist nation sovereign. No matter how he struggled, it was useless. Sensing the irresistible power, the Buddhist nation sovereign's face changed drastically. A look of regret was written all over his face. It seemed that he did not have any strength. However, he was not an existence that he could deal with at all. Why would such a person make a move here? "Fellow Taoist, spare my life, I will open it now, you see?" The Buddhist nation sovereign struggled wildly and begged for mercy. Sun Hao did not answer, but looked at the thousands of Buddhas in front of the Thunder Temple. At this moment, the bodies of these Buddhas were cracked, and blood dyed their clothes red. It seemed that they were on the verge of collapse. Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed forward. A wave of life force quickly poured into everyone's body. At this moment, the injuries on these Buddhas recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a moment, they recovered as before. Recovered? Are you all right? One by one, they stood up one after another, their faces showing a touch of joy after surviving a disaster. Finally, they all stood in front of Sun Hao and bowed deeply. "Thank you, Senior, for saving my life. No need to be polite." Sun Hao waved his hand. "I ask you, are you all people who passed the Buddhist road assessment?" Replying to the senior, "We all passed the assessment and obtained the Buddha position." One of the Buddhas stood up and said, As soon as these words came out, it was like a stone stirring up 1,000 ripples, and the sound of explosions kept ringing. In the distance, the tens of millions of onlookers looked at this scene in a daze, revealing unbelievable expressions. What? They are all people who obtained the Buddha position? Why are they all here? Didn't they say that those who obtained the Buddha position have all gone to the heavenly realm? Could it be that this Buddhist road is a conspiracy? My God, it looks like it. I almost fell for it. Chapter 452. Tell me, what exactly happened? Sun Hao looked at the Buddha in front of him and asked. The Buddha glanced at Sun Hao and then at the Lord of the Buddhist nation. A flash of fear flashed across his eyes. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Don't be afraid. I guarantee that you'll be fine. His voice wasn't loud, but it was full of vigor. When the Buddha heard this, a relieved look appeared on his face. He nodded slightly as he looked at the expressions in the distance that were yearning for the truth. Just as he was about to speak, the Buddhist nation's sovereign faintly smiled. A soul contract will cause one's soul to shatter into nothingness. You won't even have the chance to enter the sea of reincarnation. Hearing this, the Buddha shuddered and quickly shut his mouth. If his soul couldn't enter the reincarnation ocean, then he could only enter the mysterious underworld ocean to reconstruct himself. That way, he would no longer be himself. Senior, I'm sorry, I can't tell you, the Buddha said. Soul contract. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth, stretched out his right hand and grabbed forward. Few on the bodies of thousands of Buddhas, strands of purple-black silk threads were grasped by Sun Hao. These threads extended from the top of their heads into the void, and no one knew where they were sent to. You mean this? Sun Hao's voice awakened the sovereign of the Buddhist nation. The Buddhist nation sovereign stared at the thread in Sun Hao's hand, his eyes wide open. How could you possibly pull out the soul contract thread? Sun Hao smiled coldly and clenched his right hand. Bang, there was an explosion. All of the soul contract threads crumbled into dust. At this moment, the power that enveloped the thousands of Buddhas disappeared. They were all free. This is impossible. The Buddhist nation sovereign's eyes almost popped out of their socket. His face was filled with disbelief. It was a long time. Only then did he calm down. He looked at Sun Hao as if looking at a terrifying monster. Who exactly are you? The Buddhist nation sovereign's voice trembled. Sun Hao's gaze swept across, and the Buddhist nation lord quickly shut his mouth. Say it, Sun Hao said. Thank you, Senior. The group of Buddhas bowed deeply to Sun Hao, and their faces showed uncontrollable gratitude. Senior, this Buddhist path is actually a huge conspiracy. Once you obtain the Buddhist throne, you will become a tool for him to harvest faith. Over the years, the number of people who have died because of their faith is too many to count. As for them, they will all be thrown into the sea of bitterness. Their souls will be bound there and they will become slaves. The Buddha spoke word by word. Every sentence was like a silver needle stabbing into everyone's chest. Many people's bodies trembled, and they couldn't suppress the fear on their faces. Oh my God, it turns out that obtaining the Buddha position will make one a slave. This is too scary. That was close. Fortunately, that young master made a move. Otherwise, we would have died. That young master's breadth of mind is truly unprecedented. Young master's righteousness is rare in the world. Everyone stared at Sun Hao. Admiration, reverence, gratitude, all sorts of emotions flashed across their faces. Do you have anything to say? Sun Hao looked at the sovereign of the Buddhist nation and said. Haha, the Buddhist nation's sovereign reared his head back and laughed maniacally. Even if that's the case, so what? Ever since the Dark Age, it's impossible to become a god. Obtaining the power of faith is the only hope of becoming a god. If I don't use some tricks, how can I harvest it? Do you think that only our Buddhist nation does this? You're wrong, every major force is the same. You can kill me, so what? There are tens of millions of such forces in this world. How can you turn it around alone? The Dark Age is about to restart. If you don't create more gods, how can you protect all living beings in the world? Is it wrong to sacrifice oneself to achieve the boundless universe? Buddha's righteousness is not something you can understand. The voice of the Buddhist nation sovereign roared, shaking the sky and earth. These voices blasted into everyone's ears, and their faces couldn't help but change slightly. Many people opened their mouths, but they didn't say a word. Sun Hao smiled coldly. For the sake of your own self-interest, you speak righteously and dignified. If you're wrong, you're wrong. The power of faith is a kind of pious power from the heart between living beings. You and others have violated the heavenly way by forcing living beings to believe. What's the use of cultivating gods like this? Sun Hao said. Heavenly way? Bullshit heavenly way. You don't know what the heavenly way has done. I think you are a lackey of the heavenly way. Come on, kill me. The Buddhist nation sovereign looked at Sun Hao and said, Unrepentant. If that's the case, die. After saying that, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed it at the Buddhist nation sovereign. Buzz, the air trembled, and a transparent finger condensed and formed. Like a pillar of heaven, it blasted toward the Buddhist nation sovereign. Seeing that it was about to blast the Buddhist nation sovereign into powder. At this time, stop! A loud shout resounded through the world. The transparent finger that Sun Hao used suddenly collapsed into light and shadow and disappeared. Buzz, between the void there were layers of ripples. A golden Buddha slowly fell from the sky. The golden light was like a waterfall, sprinkling straight down. Buzz, bursts of roars sounded from the golden Buddha, like chanting sutras. Countless scriptures enveloped the golden Buddha. The pressure of the superior God swept down from the golden Buddha and surged throughout the world. At this moment, everyone felt as if a boulder was pressed on their chest, and it was difficult to breathe. Everyone stared blankly at the sky, and they couldn't help but widen their eyes, and their faces were shocked. My God, this is a superior God. Such a terrifying pressure, I'm afraid it's a 9th-grade superior God. The Buddhist nation sovereign looked at the giant Buddha in the sky, and his eyes were full of joy. Without any hesitation, the Buddhist nation sovereign prostrated on the ground and began to salute the giant Buddha. Greetings, Venerable Onua. As soon as these words came out, there was dead silence all around. Everyone's eyes widened, revealing a look of disbelief. What? Venerable Onua? Isn't that the Buddha in front of Tathagata? He is from the heavenly realm, it's over. This is the strongest power that Tathagata Buddhist nation can bear. Even if the young master can beat it, I think Tathagata Buddhist nation will collapse. If Tathagata Buddhist nation collapses, we will definitely die. Desperate exclamations kept ringing. The size of Venerable Onua was indescribable, and he had enveloped the entire world. No one could see where his head was, only his incomparably huge body. This fellow Taoist, why did you come to my Buddhist nation? A huge roar came from the sky, shaking the world and making it tremble. Talk to this seat? Do you want to change so much? Sun Hao said. Presumptuous. A golden hand covering the sky pressed straight down from the sky. This hand was so big that it enveloped everyone under it. Hoo! The shocking pressure poured down like the Milky Way. At this moment, everyone's body was extremely difficult to move, and even their breathing seemed to stop. Damn it, Old Sun's demon power is gone, and even a superior god can bully me at will. Onua can bully us. Chapter 453. Humph! Sun Hao snorted coldly, stretched out his finger, and pointed at the giant palm covering the sky. Boom! The world trembled, and the air waves were boundless. Venerable Onua's body stepped straight back and broke through a space. It took a lot of strength for him to stabilize his figure. Who are you? A huge roar came from the sky. This voice, with the pressure of the superior god, whistled down. That kind of momentum that destroyed everything was earth-shattering. Seeing that it was about to press down on Sun Hao. At this time, Sun Hao's eyes stared directly at Venerable Ain. With a shock, all the power collapsed. Venerable Nua's huge body shrank uncontrollably. Within a moment, it changed to the size of a normal person and fell in front of Sun Hao. Venerable Nua's body trembled, looking at Sun Hao's eyes, full of shock and disbelief. Who are you? Venerable Nua's secret method was exhausted, but he couldn't see the power in Sun Hao. It doesn't matter who I am. I'll give you a chance to live. Open the passage below. Sun Hao's voice was cold. Fellow Taoist, you must not. There is an ancient fierce demon sealed below. Once it is opened, the consequences will be unimaginable. Venerable Ainoa said with a bitter face. Ancient fierce demon? Sun Hao frowned, showing a thoughtful look. Could it be that there is really an ancient fierce demon suppressed below? The call I heard was an ancient fierce demon luring me? If this is the case, then I really can't open it. However, if Venerable Ainoa lied to me and prevented me from finding the truth, wouldn't I fall into his trap? Fellow Taoist, there is really an ancient fierce demon below. Dark Era, do you remember? Venerable Ainoa asked. Remember? I have only been in this world for 21 years, and I have not experienced the Dark Era. How can I remember? Sun Hao was puzzled. The Dark Era, the calamity of the ages, the whole world, the people were in misery. And the culprit was caused by a peerless demon king named Dao Qingyang, don't you know? Venerable Ainoa said. Dao Qingyang? Sun Hao was even more puzzled. Yes, Dao Qingyang. He killed countless creatures. Dao friend, I will tell you another secret. You should know about the ultimate energy, right? Venerable Ainoa said. Sun Hao nodded slightly. This ultimate qi was actually created by Dao Qingyang. Coming into contact with this kind of thing will affect your mind. He has become a demon of slaughter that doesn't recognize even his own family. He wants to turn the whole world into monsters, into his slaves. Beneath this seal is one of Dao Qingyang's 5 great generals, Meng Yin. Dream concealment is proficient in the law of dreams and can bewitch people. Even if I'm a few realms higher than him, I still won't be able to deal with his dream law. Fellow Taoist, could it be that you heard some sounds and came here? Venerable Ainoa said one sentence at a time, and each sentence hit Sun Hao's heart directly. Sun Hao frowned, revealing a thoughtful look. For a moment it was hard to judge. Dao Qingyang? Hidden dream? He had never heard of any of this before. Was what he said true? 6 ears, have you heard of Dao Qingyang? Sun Hao used divine sense voice transmission. Child, what he said is true, but whether or not Meng Yin is sealed under here, that is not certain. 6-ear macaque said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. His eyes were fixed on Venerable in awe, and the corner of his mouth raised a faint sneer. After saying so much, have you delayed enough time? Venerable Ainoa's body trembled, and then the corner of his mouth raised. Kid, after talking nonsense with you for so long, I finally waited for this moment. After speaking, Venerable Ainoa stretched out his hands, looked up to the sky, and roared. This voice carried a terrifying rhythm that affected the entire Gautama Buddhist kingdom. Endless power rushed and poured into Venerable Ainoa's body. At this moment, Venerable Ainoa's strength skyrocketed, reaching the supreme god realm. The space around him trembled incessantly, and then it started to crack apart piece by piece. Then, it quickly recovered. The space around him was constantly collapsing and repairing itself. The Buddha kingdom seemed to be unable to bear his power. Such a scene strongly stimulated the eyes of the onlookers. Panic was written on everyone's face. My God, the breath of the Supreme God. This is probably the greatest pressure that the Buddha kingdom can withstand. It's over, the The blow of the Supreme God is enough to destroy the Buddha kingdom. Panicked voices kept ringing. Hearing this, the corner of Venerable Anua's mouth raised, revealing a smug expression. "Ha ha, kid, dare to come to my Buddha kingdom to behave atrociously. Today, let this seat teach you a lesson." After speaking, Venerable Anua slapped Sun Hao's face. The power contained in the slap just reached the edge of the Buddha kingdom's bearing capacity. "Kid, you can resist. However, if this seat accidentally uses too much power, causing the whole world to collapse, don't blame this seat. They will all die here. You don't want to see them all die, do you?" Venerable Anua seemed to control everything, showing a calm smile. "Really?" Sun Hao smiled slightly and his eyes swept over. Immediately, Venerable Anua sensed that the power in his body was rapidly draining. How is this possible? My power is gone? No, it's sealed. He just glanced at me, and his power was sealed? Who the hell is he? At this moment, Venerable Anua could no longer calm down. In his eyes, there was only a thick color of panic. In less than a moment, all the power of Venerable Anua was sealed, and he couldn't transfer a trace. Even if he were to face a mortal, he would not have the slightest ability to resist. Venerable Anua's body fell in front of Sun Hao uncontrollably. Plop! He collapsed directly in the air, and his eyes were full of despair and unwillingness. How can you be so strong? Who are you? Venerable Anua muttered to himself, looking at Sun Hao, showing a questioning expression. "Oh, die." Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed at Venerable Anua's eyebrows. No, you can't kill me. Without me, how can you open the passage below?" Venerable Anua roared loudly. He was afraid that if he said it too late, he would be killed by Sun Hao. "Open the passage?" Sun Hao smiled slightly, changed the direction of his outstretched finger, aimed at the bitter sea, and flicked it. Boom! There was a loud noise. The golden seawater instantly evaporated and disappeared. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's eyes. That kind of shock and disbelief couldn't be described in word. "Ancestor, how strong is the young master's strength? It's terrifying, evaporating the seawater with one finger, and the power is not half a little more. Who else in the world can control this power? The young master's strength is far beyond our imagination." Chapter 454. After the bitter sea's seawater evaporated, an incomparably huge black castle appeared in front of everyone. The castle was so big that it had a diameter of 1,000 miles. On the outer wall, there were countless complex inscriptions engraved. Black rays of light were surging, forming layers of protective shields that covered the ancient castle tightly. It looked like an indestructible fortress. Dong dong! The moment the castle appeared, Sun Hao's heart beat violently. "You're finally here. I've been waiting for too long. Break the restriction and come to me." There was a call in his ears. It seemed to be there, but he couldn't hear it if he listened carefully. Sun Hao's face was ugly, and it took a long time for him to recover his calmness. Venerable Anua looked at the castle below, and his face kept changing. Then, the corner of his mouth raised. "Even if you open the passage, so what? The restriction on it is an ancient divine formation. Even a top-notch godly rank master would not be able to break it in a few years. As for you..." Before the words fell, Kacha, the formation patterns on the black castle cracked and disappeared. Such a scene strongly stimulated Venerable Anua's nerve. He opened his mouth wide and murmured for a long time without spitting out a word. Panic, disbelief, awe, all kinds of emotions kept changing on his face. He looked at Sun Hao as if he was looking at a terrifying monster. "Do you have anything else to say?" Sun Hao's voice awakened Venerable Anu. "You can't kill me," Venerable Anua said. "Haha, reason." Sun Hao's voice was cold. "I am the Buddha under the Buddha, and I have the mark left by the Buddha on my body. If you kill me, the Buddha will definitely descend. At that time, the entire Buddha's kingdom will collapse. Your friends and relatives will all die here. Even if it's you, I don't think you can bear that pressure. Venerable A Nua said. Really? Sun Hao smiled slightly and took out the ancient zither unhurriedly. Such a scene, in the eyes of everyone, all of them widened their eyes, and their faces were full of doubts. Yua, what do you want to do? Don't tell me you want to deal with the Buddha by playing the zither. You're not here to be funny. Before he finished speaking, Venerable Anos suddenly widened his eyes, and his chin seemed to fall to the ground. That kind of shocked look was indescribable with words. Clang, along with the sound of the zither, endless seven-colored divine essence rushed out of Sun Hao's fingertips. Like a celestial maiden scattering flowers, they flew towards the entire Tathagata Buddhist land. At this moment, countless rainbow-colored God elemental energy sprinkled all over Rulai's Buddhist land like rainbow-colored rain. These raindrops sank directly into the ground and fused with all living things. The material density of the entire Tathagata Buddhist kingdom was rapidly rising. The world that was originally on the verge of collapse became incomparably stable. More and more seven-colored divine essence appeared, directly bypassing all living beings and sinking into the ground. In the desert, all kinds of vegetation quickly grew. In the forest, the dead trees were sprouting rapidly. The whole world was full of vitality. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's nerves. Everyone in the entire Buddha kingdom had their eyes wide open as they stared at their surroundings. The most shocked was Venerable Ainoa in front of Sun Hao. He opened his mouth wide and mumbled for a long time without saying anything. It was a long time. Venerable Ainoa took a few deep breaths before his body regained some of its senses. What he had seen today was simply inconceivable and unimaginable. The existence in front of him was really unseen and unheard of. Playing the guqin can produce divine essence, and it's endless. How is this possible? It must be a dream. Venerable Ainoa rubbed his eyes and pinched himself a few times. However, his power was sealed, and he couldn't pinch himself. A piece of guqin music can actually raise the entire Buddha kingdom by several levels. I'm afraid even Buddha can't compare with this kind of means, right? Is he the creator? The creator is still alive? If he is not the creator, then who is he? At this moment, Venerable Ainoa's heart was like being hit by a tsunami, and he couldn't calm down for a long time. Clang, the sound of the guqin did not stop and continued to ring. The world level of Rulai's Buddhist kingdom continued to rise. Level 6 world, my God! This can already withstand the power of the God King. Level 7 Buddha, I must be dreaming. The power of the God King can also withstand it. It's still rising? How is this possible? It became a level 8 world, just like this? Venerable Ainoa muttered to himself, and his whole face was pale. He's still playing. Can he still turn this world into a level 9 world? That's unlikely, right? The higher the level, the greater the power needed to upgrade the world. Upgrading to the 9th level, it could even support the power of the saint. It was the same level as the heavenly realm. Could it be that he could also turn the Buddha kingdom into the level of the heavenly realm? The next second, buzz, with a tremor, the Buddha kingdom directly became a level 9 world. Level 9, my God! What kind of monster is he? It's definitely the creator, Pangu. Venerable Ainoa muttered to himself, looking at Sun Hao's eyes, full of worship. The sound of the guqin gradually stopped, and Sun Hao opened his eyes. With a sweep of his divine sense, the entire Buddha kingdom was covered by his divine sense. At this moment, he was like the master of the Buddha kingdom, able to control everything. Within the entire Buddha kingdom, the seven-colored divine essence flowed like clouds and mist. Above every flower and tree, there was a gem-like light. It looked gorgeous and psychedelic, like a fairy tale world. Taking a deep breath, he suddenly felt that his strength was soaring rapidly. Everyone widened their eyes and looked around in a daze. They clenched their fists excitedly, revealing an uncontrollable surprise. The second-level small world has actually become a ninth-level great world. This can be compared with the heavenly realm, right? That young master turned out to be such a character. I'm afraid he is the creator, Pangu. Pangu is still alive? No way? The exclamations kept ringing out. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Sun Hao, revealing a look of worship. Wisps of faith power, like a tsunami, rushed straight to Sun Hao from all corners of the Buddha kingdom. Taking a casual breath, Sun Hao's fatigue disappeared. Not only that, but his strength also increased a lot. This faith power was extremely pure, without a trace of impurities, and there was no need to purify at all. The faith power of these tens of billions of creatures is so rich. If I stay here, my strength will grow rapidly. Sun Hao muttered to himself, his face showing a touch of excitement. Now, he was the master of the Buddha kingdom, and any faith power was under his control. With a light breath, a wisp of avatar separated from Sun Hao's body. The avatar soared into the sky, hidden in the void, specially used to absorb these faith power. Chapter 455. Do you have anything to say? Sun Hao looked at Venerable Anua and said. This sound awakened Venerable Anua. He stared blankly at Sun Hao, his face changing. Plop, a sound resounded through heaven and earth. Venerable Anua directly knelt in front of Sun Hao with a pious expression. Great Creator, please accept me. I'm willing to become your most loyal disciple and serve you at your beck and call. As long as you say the word, I will go through fire and water without hesitation. Venerable Anua said. Looking at Venerable Anua's appearance, Sun Hao looked startled. Just now he was shouting to kill, and he knelt down to him? And he still called himself the Creator? Was he that powerful? Will Buddha let you go? Sun Hao said. Of course not. However, as long as I stay here, Buddha can't do anything to me. Venerable Anua said. Aren't you Buddha's follower? You betrayed me so easily, how dare I accept you? Sun Hao's voice was cold. Chief Creator, I was forced to do this. 2 lines of tears slid down the corners of Venerable Anua's eyes. Our life souls are all in the hands of Buddha. If we are disobedient, our souls will be shattered and return to the Xianming Sea. Creator, with your means, I think it's not a problem to help us regain our life souls. Anyway, if I don't surrender, I will die in your hands. Rather than that, it's better to gamble. Chief Creator, I beg you, please accept me. Venerable Anua's head hit the sky heavily and kept begging for mercy. Sun Hao nodded slightly when he heard this. His eyes swept and stared at the millions of Buddhist cultivators. Who else is willing to follow me? The voice was not loud, but it was full of power. This sound was like a thunderclap that woke everyone up. I am willing. I am willing. One by one, they waved their hands with excitement. Long Yuejiao flew forward and knelt down at Sun Hao. Creator, please forgive me for being disrespectful before. Long Yuejiao said. Forgive? Have I eaten the dragon race? Sun Hao asked with a smile. Chief Creator, the entire 3 realms is formed from your flesh and blood. It's our utmost honor that you're able to eat us dragons. We're overjoyed. If you are willing, I can take you back to the dragon race and let you choose as you please. Long Yuejiao said. Then what if I want to eat you? Sun Hao asked. Long Yuejiao's expression turned sluggish, and her expression kept changing. In the end, he nodded with a sad look on his face. Chief Creator, I am willing. Please make your move. With that, Long Yuejiao closed her eyes and quietly waited for death. However, after waiting for a while, Sun Hao did not make a move. I'm not an unreasonable person. Among billions of living beings, the weak are prey to the strong. This is the law of the world. Everything that happened in the past can be written off. If you are willing to follow me, no matter what race you are, you must live in harmony. Infighting is forbidden. Do you understand? Sun Hao's voice faintly spread out and rumbled between heaven and earth, lingering for a long time. These voices were clearly transmitted to the ears of all living beings. Even if they were of different races, they could understand Sun Hao's meaning at this moment. Greetings, Juggernaut. All living beings knelt down and kowtowed to Sun Hao. Their orderly voices caused the entire world to rumble. The incomparably strong power of faith flew toward the sky and submerged into the void. In the end, it was all absorbed by the clone. Sun Hao looked at this scene and nodded secretly. Brother Ning! Sun Hao shouted. Ning Mingji flew up and came to Sun Hao. He put his hands together and performed a Buddhist salute. Young master, what can I do for you? This Buddhist kingdom will be under your control in the future. Are you willing? Sun Hao said. Ning Mingji's eyes lit up. Without any hesitation, he knelt down. This disciple is willing. Good. Sun Hao pulled Ning Mingji up and nodded with a smile. In the future, Brother Ning will replace me in charge of the Buddhist kingdom. Seeing him is like seeing me. Do you understand? Sun Hao said. Yes, Lord. Everyone nodded in unison. No one was dissatisfied. Anuo! Sun Hao shouted. Lord, what can I do for you? Anuo asked. Since you follow me, I will naturally solve the matter of the life soul. Now, you follow Brother Ning and help him manage the Buddhist kingdom. Do you understand? After Sun Hao finished speaking, he stretched out his right hand and pointed at Anuo's eyebrows. Boom! A kind of karma thread directly burst apart. At this moment, Anuo was no longer under the control of Tathagata. From now on, even if Anuo had no life soul, he would be safe and sound. Anuo looked at this scene, and his eyes bloomed with a strange light. Without any hesitation, he knelt down directly. Thank you, Lord. Go. Yes. Sun Hao looked at everyone, and the corner of his mouth raised slightly. Okay, I still have something to do. I will leave first. You guys cultivate on your own. Young master. At this time, Thunder Tribulation Lord and Six-Eared Macaque rushed forward. Let us follow you. Don't worry, I'm not leaving yet. You can't help with the following things. Wait for me here. After speaking, Sun Hao flew down and went straight to the Black Castle. Buzz, with a flash of light, he disappeared above the castle and disappeared without a trace. Everyone stared blankly at Sun Hao's disappearing back, and the expressions on their faces changed indefinitely. I didn't expect that the creator Pengu is still alive. I can follow the creator, this is a supreme honor. In today's world, who can be the opponent of the world's ruler? See, it's full of divine essence. Even if you don't cultivate, your strength will advance by leaps and bounds. There was uncontrollable surprise on everyone's face. Inside the castle, in a long, pitch-black corridor, Sun Hao's figure flashed and appeared on the corridor. He looked ahead and couldn't help but frown slightly. Dong dong. His heart beat rapidly as if it was going to jump out of his throat, which was very uncomfortable. I'm here, come quickly. Don't stand there, come quickly, I don't have much time. A burst of voices kept ringing in his ears. These voices seemed to come from all directions, and he couldn't tell the direction at all. Where the hell is it? Sun Hao looked back, frowning and thinking. What material is this made of? Sun Hao stretched out his finger and poked at the stone wall. This feeling was like an ordinary person poking a stone with his finger. There was nothing but pain. There's no reaction? Sun Hao's eyes widened and his face was full of surprise. In this world, there was a stone wall that he couldn't break. It seemed that this castle was extremely not simple. What was sealed inside was really Dao Qingyang's 5 generals, Meng Yin. His own formation was invincible. Without the protection of the formation, this castle was still so intact. Presumably, the strength of the person who made the castle was by no means simple. He had to be careful. Thinking like this, Sun Hao walked forward. He had just taken 2 steps. Kaka, a voice sounded behind him. Chapter 456. Kaka, behind Sun Hao, there was a strange sound. Looking back, Sun Hao's pupils contracted, and his face changed slightly. He saw. The stone walls on both sides slowly sank. Except for the top wall, the surrounding stone walls of the entire castle sank. At a glance, it looked like an incomparably huge indoor square, and the end could not be seen at all. Buzz, suddenly. There was a shock. In the center of the castle, a crystal ball with a diameter of 10,000 meters floated. Above the crystal ball, a pale green light lit up. As time passed, this light became brighter and brighter. In the blink of an eye, the ancient castle with a radius of 1,000 miles was illuminated. Under the crystal ball, a golden coffin was placed under the crystal ball. Countless ancient patterns were engraved on the coffin. A 5-colored light flowed rapidly, emitting an extremely gorgeous brilliance. "Come here, I'm here." A voice came from the golden coffin, ringing in Sun Hao's mind. Sun Hao didn't hesitate and quickly walked to the front of the coffin. "What do you want from me?" However, there was no response from inside the coffin. Instead, it sounded mechanically. "Press your right hand on the crystal ball, and the answer you want is inside. This is what I left for you. I hope it will help you. Hurry up, it will be too late. My strength can't support the opening of the crystal ball." A series of urging sounds sounded from inside the coffin. When Sun Hao heard this, he couldn't help but frown, showing a dignified expression. If he pressed his hand down, it was likely that he would be doomed eternally. Of course, it was also likely that nothing would happen. Sun Hao blew lightly, and a clone separated from his own body. Go, this clone, without any hesitation, pressed on the crystal ball. A violent force, like thousands of streams in the galaxy, poured straight into the clone. Buzz, on the clone, cracks appeared, and dazzling light penetrated from the cracks. It looked like the body was like a bomb, as if it was about to explode. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly led this force to the main body. These forces, scattered in the body, and finally, all poured into the soul space, and were absorbed by the 9-colored round stone. My strength has at least doubled. This power is so terrifying. Who left this for me? At the moment when Sun Hao was stunned, Buzz, his body of consciousness, instantly arrived in the soul space. In the soul space, there was a blurry shadow that could not be seen clearly. You're finally here. The shadow looked at Sun Hao and said, You are. Sun Hao's face was full of doubts. He looked at the phantom and asked. However, the virtual figure acted as if he didn't hear anything and continued to speak. You don't need to ask me questions, because this is just a phantom, it has no consciousness. You must remember what I'm about to say. Do not ever forget it. Because what I'm about to say next concerns the future, concerns all living things. The child of taboo is about to appear, and the dark era is about to begin. You must go to the chaotic astral sea as soon as possible. There is a power there that can stop all of this from happening. You will also get the answer you want. Not good, I'm being watched. I can't tell you in detail. Remember, the chaos astral sea. Don't ever forget. Otherwise, when the age of darkness arrives, everything will be reduced to nothingness. With that, the shadow slowly disappeared without a trace. Sun Hao listened to this and frowned slightly. Suddenly, Sun Hao raised his eyebrows and looked at a jade slip in the sea of his soul. He couldn't help but frown. This is? Sun Hao reached out and touched it, and the jade slip instantly burst apart. A stream of incantations rushed into Sun Hao's mind. These mantras poured into his mind, and he didn't need to change it at all. In other words, he didn't have the ability to make changes. Space Tao Scripture? Sun Hao stood in place, showing a look of surprise. This mantra was about the law of space. As soon as this mantra entered his mind, he learned it. Sun Hao stood in place like a space god king. The surrounding space was under his control. There was even a feeling of breaking through the space barrier and returning to Xiang's star. This is the real control of the law of space, right? Sun Hao muttered to himself, his eyes full of joy. Now, even if he didn't go through the teleportation channel, he could go to the heavenly Dipper star region. Who the hell is he? Why did he leave these for himself? Also, where is the chaos astral sea he talked about? What does it have to do with those two cosmic giants? A series of questions filled Sun Hao's mind. He looked at the golden coffin and walked forward. Buzz, pushing it open, Sun Hao looked inside with a face full of doubts. He saw that the coffin was empty and there was nothing in it. Who the hell is he? Sun Hao muttered to himself with a puzzled face. Then, he shook his head secretly, looked at the clone in the sky, and his mind moved. The clone returned to the main body and merged with it. Now let's not think so much first. Going to the shadow realm is the most important thing. Sun Hao thought secretly, and the body of consciousness returned to the body. His eyes swept to the castle, and he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He saw that in the castle, one teleportation array after another was arranged in a circle. Each teleportation channel was extremely unstable, as if it would shatter at any time. It's too unstable, fix it for me. Sun Hao pointed with his right hand. A ray of colorful light exploded on his finger and flew into each teleportation channel. The originally extremely unstable teleportation space quickly stabilized. Sun Hao smiled and nodded, and his right hand pointed to the top of his head again. A teleportation channel led directly to the Buddha land. Others could also enter here through the teleportation array. After doing this, Sun Hao stepped into the teleportation array. Buzz, with a flash of light, Sun Hao instantly appeared in the Buddha land. Young Master, Thunder Tribulation Lord and Six-Eared Macaque quickly flew up and saluted respectfully. The others also flew up in turn and looked at Sun Hao respectfully. And Sun Hao nodded slightly. I have something to do and need to leave here. Everyone, if you want to stay in the Buddha land or need to go back, you can enter through this teleportation array. Sun Hao pointed to the teleportation array and said. As soon as these words came out, many people's eyes bloomed with a strange light. Mu Bing stepped forward. Young Master, can I bring my clansmen and men down here to cultivate? Of course. Sun Hao nodded. Everyone can bring. In the future, this Buddha land will belong to everyone. The Age of Darkness will soon begin. If you want to survive, you must cultivate hard. Sun Hao's voice was like thunder, rolling out and echoing in everyone's ears. Yes, Lord. The neat voice resounded through the world and lingered for a long time. Anua, who is sealed below? Sun Hao looked at Anua and asked. Anua showed a bitter smile on his face. Lord, I actually don't know. This castle, even Tathagata can't open it. Tathagata can't open it? Sun Hao frowned, showing a thoughtful look. It seemed that the strength of the person who made this castle was far above Tathagata. Then do you know where the Chaotic Star Sea is? Sun Hao asked. Chaotic Star Sea? I seem to have heard of this name, but I don't know where it is. Anua said. Have any of you heard of it? Sun Hao asked. Everyone shook their heads. I don't know, it seems that I have to find it myself. Sun Hao thought secretly, looking at Six-Eared Macaque and Thunder Tribulation Lord. Six-Eared Little Lay, let's go. Yes, young master. Sun Hao and the other two entered the castle in turn. When they arrived at the castle, the three walked into a teleportation array. Buzz, with a flash of light, the three disappeared in place. Chapter 457. Purple Sun Star, the Edge of the Forbidden Land. Buzz, the air trembled, and three figures walked out of the void. These three people were Sun Hao, Thunder Tribulation Lord, and Six-Eared Macaque. Young Master, do Do you really want to enter the Forbidden Land? Six-eared Macaque's face changed slightly, looking at Sun Hao and asked. And Sun Hao nodded slightly. Young master, it is extremely dangerous inside. Before Six-eared Macaque finished speaking, Sun Hao waved his hand to stop him. You two wait for me here. Young master, let us accompany you in? Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. You two haven't reached the divine realm, it's useless to go in. After speaking, Sun Hao took a step, 1,000 miles in one step, and instantly stepped into the Forbidden Land. A cool breeze mixed with flying snow blew on people's faces, and a chill spread from the face to the whole body. Sun Hao looked straight ahead and walked forward step by step. Boom! Every step he took caused the air to tremble. A wave of air spread from the soles of his feet in all directions, making a dull sound. Squeak! Howl! Boom! The entire Forbidden Land seemed to be aroused, and all kinds of strange cries kept ringing. Chirp! A bird's cry came from the sky. Countless 2-meter-long strange birds were overwhelming, forming a black cloud, and rushed straight to Sun Hao. The whole sky darkened in an instant. Each strange bird emitted a metallic luster. Above the sharp claws there was a cold gleam. Humph! Sun Hao snorted coldly, pointed to the sky, and blew lightly. Immediately, the wind was strong and the sun and moon were dim. The whole sky, as if torn apart, kept shattering. Bang bang, these strange birds, one after another, fell to the ground, and after twitching a few times, there was no movement. All around, calm was restored. The sun shone down, penetrating the gaps between the leaves, falling a little spot of light. In the dense forest, the monsters were dormant, lying on the ground, shivering. Sun Hao's footsteps didn't stop, and he continued to walk forward. Just a few steps after he walked out. Rumble, the dull thunder split the earth. In the distance, a mountain range of up to 10,000 meters rose rapidly. As time passed, a stone giant with a height of tens of thousands of meters, which could not be seen, stood 100 miles away. The stone giant stood where it was. Suddenly, 2 blood-red beams shot out of its lifeless eyes. He opened his mouth wide enough to stuff a mountain range inside. Howl! A roar formed a gust of wind and rushed straight to Sun Hao. Wherever the gale passed, space would shatter inch by inch. In the blink of an eye, it blew on Sun Hao. Sun Hao stood in place, his clothes fluttering, and his hair dancing wildly. However, there was not a single scar on his body. It's you! The stone giant let out a roar and stared at Sun Hao. Little ant, you actually dare to trespass into my territory? You were lucky to escape last time. This time, you won't be so lucky. Die, ant! The stone giant stepped forward with its mountain-like giant feet and quickly rushed towards Sun Hao. Boom! Wherever the footsteps went, loud noises would ring out. Shock waves rose from the soles of his feet. The shock waves swept out in all directions with an unstoppable force. The entire ground was constantly cracking apart. Dust soared into the sky and shrouded the world. It was as if doomsday had arrived, causing one's scalp to go numb. For this scene, Sun Hao's face did not change at all. He stretched out his right hand unhurriedly and pressed forward. Buzz! The world trembled. The stone giant's body stagnated. Looking up, his pupils contracted and his face changed slightly. He saw, in the sky, a golden palm condensed and formed. This palm covered the sky and covered everything. The golden palm stretched down from the sky and rushed straight to the stone giant. Come on! The stone giant roared, raised his fist, and blasted it at the golden palm. Boom! There was a loud noise. The fist smashed on the palm. Except for a slight impact, it could not stop the golden palm at all. This is impossible. The stone giant kept shaking his head, unwilling to believe everything in front of him. This seat is invincible. How can I not hurt him? This must be a dream. The stone giant muttered to himself. The next second, the stone giant's face changed drastically. At the moment when it was stunned, the golden palm came quickly and grasped it in an instant. The stone giant's body shrank uncontrollably with the golden palm. Soon, it turned into the size of a normal person and flew in front of Sun Hao. The power in its body seemed to be extracted clean, leaving no trace. Now, not to mention a god, even a demigod could kill it. "You, who the hell are you? Where did this seed offend you? Why do you do this to me?" The stone giant's voice trembled, looking at Sun Hao, revealing a questioning look. "You really don't know?" Sun Hao stretched out his finger and flicked it at the stone giant's eyebrows. Buzz! This finger flicked the stone giant's head, and his body trembled violently. The color of fear was written all over his face. My lord, spare me!" Looking at Sun Hao's finger flicking, the stone giant hurriedly begged for mercy. "Tell me, why are you here?" Sun Hao asked. "My lord, I have been here since I was born," the stone giant said. "You dare not tell the truth?" Sun Hao stretched out his finger and flicked it at the stone giant's head again. Boom! This finger flicked the stone giant's head. "My lord, I really didn't lie to you, I was born here. In the dark, there is a voice in my mind, saying that I should guard this place, and no foreign creatures are allowed to come in," the stone giant said. Hearing this, Sun Hao frowned. "Alien creatures?" The stone giant showed a bitter smile. "My lord, alien creatures are other creatures outside this continent." "Then can you know who the voice in your mind is?" Sun Hao asked. "My lord, I don't know either. I only know that the voice that rings in my mind is a woman's voice," the stone giant said. "A woman's voice?" Sun Hao frowned slightly, revealing a thoughtful look. The Forbidden Lands had appeared since the Dark Age. Every life planet has a forbidden place. The last time the Dark Age caused chaos in ancient times, it was Dao Qingyang. It stands to reason that this forbidden place should be made by Dao Qingyang. Could it be that Qingyang is a woman? Thinking of this, Sun Hao raised his eyebrows. He seemed to understand a lot of things. Withdrawing his mood, Sun Hao looked at the stone giant and checked the karma lines on it. Nothing. There was not even a trace of karma line. It seems that the person who made the forbidden place is really not simple, Sun Hao murmured, and his divine sense swept the entire forbidden place. He was surprised to find that there was no trace of karma left on the entire earth. It was really not easy to find the behind-the-scenes existence through the karma Dao. Forget it for now. Withdrawing his mood, Sun Hao looked at the stone giant, and with a move of his mind, a transparent avatar enveloped the stone giant. "You continue to guard here." Sun Hao pointed with his right hand, and the restrictions on the stone giant all collapsed. The stone giant regained its freedom. "Thank you, my lord." The stone giant's face showed great gratitude, and he knelt and kowtowed to Sun Hao. No need to be polite. Sun Hao's figure flashed and came to a mountain peak. Chapter 458. In the heavenly realm, the mist was rising and the light was flickering. Auspicious purple chi enveloped the 9 heavens and earth, and a temple stood in the colorful clouds. A majestic Buddhist aura rose from the temple, looking extremely sacred. In the temple, a large Buddha sat cross-legged in the main hall, his eyes closed in contemplation. Buzz! Suddenly, the large Buddha opened his eyes, and 2 beams of golden light shot out. This opening startled the surrounding bodhisattvas and Vajra, who looked at the large Buddha with puzzled expressions. "Buddha?" a bodhisattva asked. "The karma line I set on Anua's body has been cut off," the large Buddha said. As soon as this was said, the surrounding Vajra bodhisattvas all revealed a trace of surprise. "The karma line laid by the Buddha has been cut off by someone? How is this possible? In this world, there are only a few who are as famous as the Buddha. Could it be that they did it?" Stop arguing and listen to what the Buddha has to say. Looking at the confusion on the faces of the Vajra bodhisattvas, the Buddha's face revealed a trace of seriousness. "I can't divine who cut off the karma line. Moreover, the Buddhist nation has changed owners, and it has been taken away by the person who cut off the karma line. This sentence was like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples, and the entire scene was instantly broken. What? The Buddhist nation has been taken away? Is this true? My God, there is such a person in this world? Without the Buddhist nation, what should we do? Even outside the temple, there was an uproar at this moment. Every Buddha's face revealed a look of worry. Buddha, the Buddhist nation has been taken away. Without the power of faith, our strength will only stagnate. The Dark Age is coming. Without enough Buddhist positions, I'm afraid we will not be able to survive this disaster. Buddha, please give us an explanation. The 4 bodhisattvas looked at the large Buddha and asked. The large Buddha pinched his fingers and calculated, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. I have an idea. Buddha, what is it? The shadow realm appeared in the primordial chi. With this item, attaining the Buddhist position will not be a problem. The large Buddha said. As soon as this was said, the group of Vajra and Bodhisattvas were all pleasantly surprised. Samantabhadra Vajra hand. The large Buddha shouted. Disciple is here. The 2 Bodhisattvas stepped forward. This time, the 2 of you will bring 10 Vajras and 108 Arhats to the shadow realm. You must seize all the mixed origin chi. The Buddha shouted. This disciple understands. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva and Vajrapani Bodhisattva agreed at the same time. I'm sure the Sky Emperor will know about the appearance of the primordial chaos chi in the shadow realm. When the time comes, he will also send people there. If I'm not mistaken, the one going to the shadow realm this time will be Yang Jian. That boy is a bit difficult to deal with. Take this, and you alone will be enough to deal with him. With that said, the great Buddha waved his right hand and an alms bowl appeared out of thin air, floating in front of Vajra hand Bodhisattva. This disciple understands. Go! Yes. The 2 Bodhisattvas, along with 10 Vajras and 108 Arhats, floated away and disappeared into the clouds. After they left, the Buddha raised his eyebrows and revealed a hint of uneasiness. He calculated with his fingers, and his expression changed slightly. Not good, Golden Cicada's soul is about to be released. The great Buddha said. The soul of that peerless great demon is about to be released? A Bodhisattva asked. That's right. The great Buddha nodded, put his palms together, opened his mouth into an O shape and shouted forward. Moo, a broken sound rang out in all directions. At this moment, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Vajras sat cross-legged on the ground together, chanting. Moo, sutras flew out and went straight for the great Buddha. The sutras drilled into the great Buddha's body and condensed into a golden shadow. Then, this shadow slowly floated up, separated from the great Buddha's body, and whizzed toward the 9 heavens. Heavenly Realm, Heavenly Emperor Palace, Lingshao Hall of the Golden Arches. A golden-robed man with a surging aura sat upright and still, his gaze sweeping across the main hall. This person was the Heavenly Emperor who was in charge of the entire heavenly realm. On both sides of the main hall, a group of civil and military officials stood on both sides, bowing their heads to show respect. Dear ministers, do you have any important matters to report? The Heavenly Emperor's voice was like thunder, echoing faintly throughout the main hall and lingering for a long time. Heavenly Emperor, I have something to report. 2 ministers walked out from the crowd and stood out. Clairvoyant, clairaudient, what do you have to report? The Heavenly Emperor asked. In reply to the Heavenly Emperor, there is news from the human realm that primordial energy has appeared in the shadow realm. As soon as these words came out, the entire scene exploded. What? Primordial energy? How is that possible? Is this true? How many years has it been? I have never heard of primordial energy. There is still primordial energy in the shadow realm. Is this news true? For a moment, the entire scene could not calm down. Even the Heavenly Emperor's expression changed slightly at this moment, revealing a look of disbelief. Is this true? The Heavenly Emperor asked. Absolutely. The clairvoyant nodded. Dear ministers, is there anyone willing to seize this primordial energy? The Heavenly Emperor asked. Please give me your orders. A man in golden armor stood out and directly knelt down. This person was the first general under the Heavenly Emperor Yang Jian. Dear Minister Yang, please rise quickly. With you going, there is a 90% chance of success. Li Jing, Neza, the two of you take the lead with 100,000 heavenly soldiers to assist Yang Jian in seizing the primordial energy. The Heavenly Emperor said. Yes, sir. Yang Jian and the other two cupped their fists at the same time and quickly left. After the three of them left, the Heavenly Emperor looked at the crowd of civil and military officials and said, Dear ministers, do you have anything else to report? Seeing everyone shake their heads, the Heavenly Emperor waved his hand. Then, his figure flashed and instantly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was outside a cave residence. What brings you here, Heavenly Emperor? An old voice came from inside the cave residence. Great Duke Jiang, I need your help with something, the Heavenly Emperor said. Buzz, with a flash of light, a white-haired old man appeared in front of the Heavenly Emperor, looking at him expressionlessly. This person was Jiang Zia. Heavenly Emperor, you control heaven and earth, and there are many capable people. I am just an old man, how can I help you? Jiang Zia said. Great Duke Jiang, you are too modest. Primordial energy has appeared in the Shadow Realm. The Heavenly Emperor said. What? Jiang Zia stared at him blankly. Is what you said true? Great Duke Jiang, when have I ever lied? The Heavenly Emperor pretended to be angry. Jiang Zia showed a trace of bitterness. Heavenly Emperor, I am sorry, I was too excited. Tell me, why have you come to me this time? Jiang Zia asked. Great Duke Jiang, this time the primordial energy has appeared, presumably Tathagata will also know. With his ability, he can predict that Yang Jian will lead the team. Presumably he will give his disciple the primordial spiritual treasure, the heaven-swallowing alms bowl. I have come because you, Great Duke Jiang, personally go to the Shadow Realm and block the heaven-swallowing alms bowl for Yang Jian. If I get the primordial energy, I will give you a share. What do you think? The Heavenly Emperor said. A share? Jiang Zia's mouth curled up. Heavenly Emperor, you should find 5, at most 5. Deal. Chapter 459. Sun Hao stood in the sky, looking at the mountain below, and the corner of his mouth raised. He stretched out his finger and pointed forward. Buzz, the ground trembled rapidly, and the dust burst apart and exploded into nothingness. A huge Buddha hand with a height of 5,000 meters appeared in front of Sun Hao. A golden Buddha phantom flew from the Buddha's hand and floated in front of Sun Hao. Fellow Taoist, we meet again. Please listen to me first before you destroy me. Seeing Sun Hao stretch out his finger, the giant Buddha phantom's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly spoke. Speak. Sun Hao said faintly. Fellow Taoist, what is suppressed below is the peerless demon golden cicada. He is immortal, and even I can't kill him. Moreover, his 4 disciples have been injected with power by him, and they have also cultivated immortal bodies. Even I can't kill them, and I can only suppress them. Once his soul is released, I think the entire 3 realms will be in deep water and fire. Fellow Taoist, you have to think clearly. The Golden Buddha said. Are you done? Sun Hao asked. N. The Golden Buddha nodded. Then, go to hell. After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and blasted at the Golden Buddha. Wait! Fellow Taoist, don't you know that Golden Cicada is one of the 5 generals of Tao Qingyang? The Golden Buddha said. Sun Hao's finger stopped half a meter in front of him. Golden Cicada is Tao Qingyang's general? How is this possible? How strong is Tao Qingyang? I'm afraid I can't imagine it at all. Sun Hao thought secretly, and the color of fear was written all over his face. A general could not be killed by Buddha. Dao Qingyang himself was probably not dead at all. He must be hiding in a corner waiting for an opportunity. Could it be that one of the two cosmic giants was Dao Qingyang? Thinking of this, Sun Hao took a breath of cold air. It could be confirmed that he could not face those two cosmic giants at present. Withdrawing his mood, Sun Hao looked at the golden Buddha phantom and said, "Are you finished?" And, "No, don't. Fellow Taoist, you can't kill me. You will regret it." Bang! Sun Hao blasted a finger, and the golden Buddha phantom suddenly collapsed into nothingness and disappeared. After this finger attack, Kacha, a huge crack appeared in the sky. Sun Hao looked up and scanned with his divine sense. His face showed a touch of caution. Kacha, the sky continued to split open. Rays of golden light shot out from the cracks like the Milky Way pouring down. Sun Hao turned a blind eye to this scene. He looked at the ape-shaped statue under the Buddha's hand and gently blew. Phew! Shao Chun blew out a breath of air, and the golden Buddha hand crumbled into dust, vanishing quickly. Bang! The ape-shaped statue's skin cracked open. The six-eared macaque's body was freed. It flew over, landed in front of Sun Hao, and saluted him with cupped fists. "Young master, go back to the main body first." Sun Hao nodded slightly, stretched out his finger, and pointed forward. The sky rippled, and a portal vortex appeared in front of Six-Eared Macaque. After Six-Eared Macaque cupped his fists at Sun Hao, he stepped into the teleportation vortex and disappeared. After Six-Eared Macaque left, Sun Hao looked at the sky and couldn't help but frown. He saw an incomparably huge vortex appeared in the sky. Moo moo, a Buddha voice spilled down from the vortex. A giant golden Buddha slowly fell, and the terrifying pressure swept down like a tsunami, enveloping Sun Hao. Dong dong, Sun Hao's heart beat violently. His heart felt like it was being squeezed, extremely uncomfortable. For the first time in 21 years since he came to this world, he felt a fatal crisis. The strength of this giant Buddha was by no means simple. Sun Hao looked at the giant golden Buddha with a touch of fear on his face. "Humph!" Sun Hao snorted coldly, looked at the pentagonal black tower on the ground, stretched out his finger, and pointed forward. Boom! The giant black tower burst apart instantly. Two remnant soul phantoms flew up from the giant black tower and quickly flew toward Sun Hao. Evil creature! There was a roar and the world trembled. Terrifying pressure surged from the giant golden Buddha, and it went straight to the two remnant souls. In an instant they were imprisoned in place, unable to move. Phew! A big golden hand reached down from the sky. Kacha! The world seemed to be unable to stand this pressure and was collapsing quickly. Sun Hao looked at this scene, snorted coldly, stretched out his palm, aimed at the giant golden palm, and blasted it. The splitting sky divine palm was used. Buzz! A transparent palm condensed and blasted on the giant golden palm. Boom! The sky shook and the earth and sky collapsed. The terrifying shock wave was endless, whistling in all directions. The color of the entire heavens and earth darkened in an instant. Bang! Sun Hao was hit by this shock wave, and his body staggered straight back. It took a long time to stabilize his figure. The giant golden Buddha was not much better. Its huge body smashed countless spaces and fell into the depths of the void before stabilizing. As for the remnant souls of Golden Cicada and the others, they had long been protected by Sun Hao in the palm of his hand. Phew! Two remnant souls flew out, stood in front of Sun Hao, and bowed deeply. "Thank you, young master." This voice clearly passed into Sun Hao's ears. In the past, Sun Hao could not hear the voice made by the soul. But now, he could hear it clearly. Sun Hao nodded slightly and looked at Golden Cicada. "Are you really the general of Dao Qingyang?" Golden Cicada's figure stagnated and nodded slightly. "Yes, young master." "The chaos in ancient times was done by Dao Qingyang? Dark Age was created by him?" Sun Hao asked. "Young master, it was definitely not done by the Dao master," Golden Cicada said. Tao Master? Sun Hao's face was full of doubts. Yes, young master. In fact, they framed the Tao Master. They are the root of the calamity and chaos. You must not believe their words. You don't know when Golden Cicada was about to speak. Don't talk nonsense. A thunderous boom shook heaven and earth. Immediately afterward, countless giant hands covering the sky whistled down from the sky and went straight to Golden Cicada. Humph, you guys leave first, I'll ask you later. After speaking, Sun Hao's figure flashed and stood on top of Golden Cicada's head. Then, he stretched out his palm and quickly blasted toward the sky. Phew, the loud noise continued, and transparent palms condensed and formed, superimposed together, aimed at the giant hand covering the sky, and blasted over. The face of Golden Cicada's soul changed slightly, and he bowed deeply to Sun Hao. Then, he disappeared above the void with the artifact spirit, and disappeared without a trace. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the sky shook and the earth shook. The boundless airwaves spread in all directions with the momentum of toppling mountains and overturning the seas. Boom! The entire earth was torn apart layer by layer, fragmented piece by piece. Sun Hao's body drifted up and down in the airwaves.